Our NASCAR Nextel Cup action at Bristol is being presented by Pennzoil. Not just oil, Pennzoil. By Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. By Can-Am, the ultimate ride. And by Sprint, featuring NASCAR Nextel Cup Series updates at Sprint Speed. The clock is ticking in the race to the chase, with 5 drivers battling to either get in or stay in the top 12 on all-important race to the chase here for NASCAR's Nextel Cup. Just 3 races remaining, and it all begins here tonight. How do these 5 stack up at Bristol? Well, Busch is the best in terms of the win column. Earnhardt Jr. is the other one to win. Visit Victory Lane, and Greg Biffle has the best average finish overall. He has 5 top 10 finishes and just 9 starts here. Bristol Motor Speedway, a concrete coliseum with 3-story high bankings, filled to capacity. Over 160,000 diehard NASCAR fans. They look forward to coming here every year. It is this Saturday night in August, the sultry Saturday, when the sleepy quiet here of the mountains of East Tennessee are shattered by the piercing roar of 800 horsepower NASCAR stock car engines. It is the night that race fans will talk about for an entire year. This track first opened in 1961, and back then it only cost $600,000 to build. There were 18,000 seats back then. Tonight, they can seat more in the restrooms than that. Over 160,000 people on hand, as tonight, the 94th NASCAR Nextel Cup Series event will be held here at Bristol Motor Speedway. It has been compared to the Rose Bowl of racetracks, an incredible sight as we get set to go trackside for opening ceremonies here before this massive crowd of diehard stock car fans.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand for the presentation of colors by the Air Force Combat Climatology Center team, and remain standing and remove your caps for tonight's invocation by Bernard Grunstra.
Dear Lord, Bristol and the Tri-Cities and all of our guests welcome you and the Holy Spirit here tonight. We pray for the safety of all of the fans, the drivers and their crews, and all of the people who have made this possible tonight. Father, we are so much in love with you, and thank you for our love. Thank you for the protection and the safety, and particularly bring home our troops, our servicemen and women. Bring them home safely, quickly, and in victory. Thank you, Lord. Thanks for racing the way it ought to be. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join in singing our national anthem with the children of the drivers and crews from Motor Racing Outreach.
The color and pageantry of pre-race festivities here at Bristol Motor Speedway. The sons and daughters of many of these crews and drivers there to be able to sing the national anthem, and they allowed the drivers and the crews to be out to watch that before having to get in the car here tonight. There's the flyover F-16s from the 121st Fighter Squadron, District of Columbia Air National Guard. Well, take a look at our point standings after 23 of 36 events. Only 3 races remaining in the race to the chase. Jeff Gordon and Denny Hamlin are in. Matt Kenseth and Tony Stewart could be in tonight, but an all-important 12th position. Last week's winner, Kurt Busch, solidly there. The good news for Dale Earnhardt Jr. is he moved from 14th to 13th. The bad news is he is still further back than he was a week ago. He was 100 points back entering last week. He's 163 points back, so it is really time for Dale Earnhardt Jr. to make his move here tonight. Hello, everyone. Along with the champs, Rusty Wallace and Andy Petrie, I'm Jerry Punch. Glad to have you with us here on what is a gorgeous night here in Bristol, Tennessee. And there is a reason this is the hottest ticket in all of NASCAR. You know, Bristol's always been about bare knuckles of full contact stock car racing. And tonight, the drivers are implying, Rusty, that they're going to see something that they have never seen before happen at this racetrack.
And Jerry, what that is, everybody's always run the bottom lane here at Bristol because there was no second or third lane. But tonight, guys, second lane and third lane is probably where you want to run. This new banking angle is really working good, and the drivers are loving it.
Andy, with 2 and 3 wide racing now, how will that alter the mindset of a crew chief in terms of race strategy?
Well, track position has been so important here in the past because it is just single file, or has been just single file racing. And now with the racetrack able to go 2 and 3 wide, you'll give up some of that. Maybe you'll go back and get tires and try to see what you can get at the end of the race. There's more than one way to win on this new concrete, so it's going to be very interesting to see the strategies these guys play out.
Wow, 2 and 3 wide racing in Bristol. This should be fun to watch. Coming up, 500 laps of full contact stock car racing in Bristol, Tennessee. We'll fire them up when we come back. After 2 days of steady rains, these fans on their feet as NASCAR's finest come down to the green flag. Oh, trouble, Juan Pablo Montoya.
It's not a matter of if he's going to wreck, it's just a matter of when he's going to wreck.
The 8 car all the way through his pit.
Pick it up, back up, right there, back up.
This is a costly mistake by the driver. Building on pit roads, working out the fin. This is a long time for the 12 car.
Kurt Busch comes down in dominating fashion and wins at Michigan.
It's Miller time, boys.
That was 1 week ago, actually about 5 days ago, as Kurt Busch won his second race of the year, his 17th of his career. He led 4 times for 92 laps. The problem is he finished 37th here last year and finished 29th back in the spring, hoping to break that jinx in the last 2 outings at Bristol Motor Speedway. Drivers say the 3-story high concrete banks here remind them of the Coliseum where the gladiators competed and fought for so many years. They're getting set to battle here on the high banks for 500 laps here at Bristol Motor Speedway. It's all about survival. Can you survive? Can you get your car to the finish? Can you overcome the pushing and shoving and rooting and gouging that takes place here on the 3-story high banks? We'll find out who can get it done as we go down trackside for the command.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the words we've all been waiting for, Sharpie 500 Grand Marshal Penny Burton.
Drivers, start your engine!
Gang. Ready, get ready, crank it up, let me know if it's running.
I'll call the commitment line getting on our pit road 10 away.
Step up, Brown, be running your brake pads here, left front, right front, with monitor your caution lights to the radiator.
David, clear on entering and exiting pit road, both of the yellow and the green right.
The engines have fired and 43 of NASCAR's finest know what comes next. It's time to roll and get serious with the game face on at Bristol Motor Speedway. Our starting grid. Casey Kane picked up his 2nd pole of the year and 14th of his career. And as you look across the top of our screen, you'll see that there are 2 rookies starting in the front 2 rows. Juan Pablo Montoya equals his best ever start and best career start for David Reagan, who will start 4th here tonight. Let's visit with our in-race reporter, the driver of the Office Depot Ford, Carl Edwards, who starts back in the 6th position.
Carl Edwards, Rusty Wallace, ESPN. You got us?
Hey, Rusty.
Well, Carl, this year you've won almost every single concrete track that you've run on. How does this track right here compare to the rest of them?
Man, I don't know if you've driven around it, you know, Rusty, but it's awesome. You know, it's just it's brand new concrete. It's real tough to get a hold of right now, but you know, the good thing is you can run the high side, you can run the bottom. It's like Dover, but you can run the top. I mean, it's pretty neat.
Well, Carl, with that said, where's the best place to pass on this racetrack? Have you identified a place that you think's going to work good for you?
I mean, everybody watched the truck race and the bush race. It looks like, you know, that it's just wherever the guy in front of you is not. You know, it looks like you can run the top. I mean, Casey Kane squeezed around him on the top, and you know, I saw some guys pass on the bottom last night, but I think it's just wherever that guy in front of you is not.
All right, buddy, have a good one. Bring her home tonight.
Making the calls for Carl tonight will be his crew chief, Bob Osborne. Let's talk with him.
Hey, Bob Osborne, Andy Petrie at ESPN. You got a copy?
Doing, Andy.
Hey, Bob, with this new racetrack, you know, got a lot more passing lanes and a lot more options for these drivers. How's that going to change your strategy down there on pit road?
Well, it's going to be exciting to watch, that's for sure, but, you know, you don't have to worry, at least I'm hoping, so much about track position here. You can come when you feel like you need to come for tires and fuel, and go back there and pass in whatever lane you're working the best in.
10-4, that sounds good. We'll be watching. Good luck.
Thank you, Andy.
What should we be watching for here tonight as these cars get set to roll for 500 laps of racing? Well, to help explain, let's head down to the pits. First, here's Alan Bestwick.
Well, Doc, there are two groups of drivers competing within tonight's race. One group, a group of drivers who've already clinched their place in the chase for the Nextel Cup, or those who've been totally eliminated from it. And that second group, those drivers on the bubble who have still yet to lock in their place in the chase. For that latter group, tonight's a big worry. There's spins and bumps and crashes that are so easily a part of a Bristol race for a driver to get caught up in. They have to avoid those and come out with a good finish to try and lock in their chase position. Have a good finish tonight, according to Martin Truex, the 11th place driver in points, and those hopes for the chase become much more of a reality.
Well, Alan, you know the short track here at Bristol usually leads to short tempers. You add in the fact that it's 95 degrees and about 100% humid tonight, and you have the hottest ticket in NASCAR. Bristol under the lights, you can see all the fans around me. It's unbelievable, the energy here tonight. But as Casey Kane proved last night, the driver who has the most patience, the best fitness, and has the coolest head at the end of those laps will end up in victory lane. Now, the best thing about tonight, we're doubling all that excitement from last night, and we're going 500 laps. Mike Massaro?
Well, Jamie, over the years, there's been a common yet controversial passing technique synonymous with Bristol, the bump and run. Most drivers agree the best way to get around someone is to simply root and gouge your way by. But with the reconfiguration, there's a new era, a kinder, friendlier version of racing here in Bristol. And the rough and tumble days may be behind us and replaced with finesse racing. Most drivers agree that while there's multiple grooves of racing, they will not be fighting for the same piece of real estate. And because of that, they think that bump and run may be over. Except for one thing, the final lap. When the checkers are out and the money's on the line, all bets are off. And these drivers will certainly not be afraid to use their front bumper on the final lap here in Thunder Valley. Dave?
Well, Mike, last night in the Busch Series race, we did see some problems on pit road. But tonight, the problem will be congestion. We expect to see a lot more problems on pit road just because these cars pit with a pack mentality. Well, why do they do that? Well, they have an unlimited supply of tires to get to their drivers here, unlike last night in the Busch Series where they are limited. So at this place, with these race cars, everyone wants to keep their drivers on the best tires at all times. Fresh tires are faster. So you'll see them all pit together. Hopefully they won't have trouble on pit road because down here, everybody's in a hurry, Doc.
Thanks, guys. Great stories we'll be following all night long. Imagine that finesse at Bristol, pack mentality, and obviously hot temperatures and hot tempers here, as you always see in Bristol, Tennessee. Well, we'll give you a ride tonight with 9 high-definition onboard cameras. Dale Earnhardt Jr. starts 17th in the Wrangler Budweiser Chevrolet. Denny Hamlin starts 37th in the FedEx Chevy. Tony Stewart 23rd, the Home Depot Chevrolet. Jamie McMurray starts 3rd in the Crown Royal Ford. Kevin Harvick 13th, the Shell Pennzoil Chevy. Jeff Burton 10th in the AT&T Chevy. Michael Waltrip back in 16th in the Napa Auto Parts Toyota. Carl Edwards, we've already heard from him. He starts 6th in the Office Depot Ford. And, of course, our pace car, Brett Bodine, former NASCAR driver and winner, will be driving the Chevy pace car with our Chevy bow tie onboard camera looking back at the field here as he leads them through the high banks in Bristol, Tennessee. Unbelievable scenery here in Bristol, 160,000. It is a sold-out crowd. This thing's been sold out for years. Fans will these tickets to each other because you never want to give up your tickets to Bristol, Tennessee.
Bristol's the hottest ticket on the circuit, Jerry. There's just absolutely no doubt about that. Everybody wants to come here, and if you're a driver and you win at this racetrack, you feel like you've won the Daytona 500. That's just a big race. You look forward to it, and, man, I just can't imagine what's going through these drivers' minds right now.
It is a 500-lap test of man and machine here on a half-mile racetrack. All concrete, brand new surface. First time the NASCAR Nextel Cup cars have run here, and you heard how excited the drivers were about what could happen tonight. 2 and 3 wide, they're predicting. Pit road speed 30 miles per hour. There's the pit window. A lot of different strategy. And by the way, the banking here now 24 to 30 degrees transitional and somewhat parabolic in the corners.
And the drivers seem to love it. They really like these different bank angles. And right now, there's only 4 tracks in America that have this type of multi-bank angle tracks. That's Homestead Speedway, Urbandale out in California, New Iowa Speedway, and now Bristol. It seems like it's worked really well. And let's see what happens tonight here at Bristol.
Remember, just 3 races remain in the race to the chase. This race is critical. Can Dale Earnhardt Jr. get back in it? Can Kurt Busch hang on? What about Ryan Newman? Can he get there? A lot of anxious, a lot of nervous drivers here buckled up in these cars. Well, glad to have you with us. We invite you to buckle up your seatbelts on the sofas at home because the 500-lap Battle of Bristol is about to begin. You wonder why we call this place Thunder Valley? You're about to find out. Because the Thunder is headed out of turn 4 to the green flag.
Looks like they've called off the green flag here.
They're going to have to get a push truck or something.
NASCAR has called off the green flag because the 49 car has had a problem over in the turn. That's John Andretti. His car has stalled over at the very top of turn 2. So rather than NASCAR very quickly making an adjustment so there would not be a safety issue.
Yeah, there's no way they could start the race here. We had that car stalled up in the top groove. NASCAR heads up there just kept the cars from going green. That could have been a mess here if we'd start the race with that car sitting there.
Andy, a lot of times as a driver, your steering wheel, you're going to pull it off and reclock it for the start. But in order to do that, a lot of people like to pull up out of the way. Now, he might have hit the kill switch on his steering wheel, and he's fighting trying to get that car refired right now. That could be what the problem is.
You can see John's right hand on the dashboard. They're trying to flip those switches back and forth, and now you've called to the pits. They will call the safety crew and wrecker out to give him a push and try to get him going. Well, everything happens at Bristol, even before the green flag. We got cars having trouble up on the banking.
We have our first caution before the race went green.
While they get the 49 car fired and back in position, we'll take a quick break and come back with a green flag at Bristol, Tennessee in just a moment. Back in Bristol, Tennessee, normally in golf you get a mulligan. Not in motorsports, but we're going to get a mulligan here on the green flag because of the 49 car stalling the ignition panel, we're being told. They had a problem with the 49 of John Andretti, and he has gone to pit road where they have the hood up there working on that car. Now this time, the safety car, the Chevy pace car with Brett Bodine aboard, will pull away. And a pair of Dodges will come out at turn 4 and lead them down finally for the green flag at Bristol, Tennessee.
And right now they're side by side. Nobody's getting out of shape yet. The track looks good. And Casey Kane's jumped out into a big lead right now, Jerry. He has really cleared Juan Pablo Montoya and has set sail.
That's how fast it happens here in Bristol. 15-second lap speeds of 120 miles per hour, and they are 2 and sometimes 3 wide. As they said, we have never seen that here before.
This is great to see that this racetrack is so racy. We've never seen this. These guys right off the start running 2 wide. Usually they're just fighting for the bottom of the racetrack, just trying to get in single file line and get right on the bottom. But here they're just searching all over.
Guys, every time I've started this race, and if I wasn't on the front row or on the pole position and I'm marked on the outside, I would always have my spotter cutting deals with everybody else. Hey, tell the guy, let me to the bottom. But you don't see any of that right now because these 3 lanes are racing, and these drivers are just loving this stuff right now. No rooting and gouging yet, but trust me, it's going to happen.
Got a glimpse of Jeff Burton. He's one of the drivers that a lot of the experts said you should keep an eye on tonight.
He worked this top groove last night in his Busch car to perfection. He was flying up there, and I'm sure that's what he's going to plan on doing tonight. He's up there now passing around Ricky Rudd here in the 88.
Jeff Burton told a lot of guys, he said, last night I felt like I was at Darlington, South Carolina in turn 3 and 4 where you lay the car right against the wall. And he said it's so much fun because you're so maneuverable here. So look for him to run good.
You already see 3 wide racing off that turn 4. Matt Kenseth going around on the outside.
The ticker across the top of your screen, the green shows the drivers who are right now in the chase. The yellow shows those that are on the bubble and are hoping to get in. Remember, only 3 events remaining, 2 after tonight, California and Richmond, before the chase to the Nextel Cup actually begins.
The drivers have all told us the car does not handle near as good as last year's car did, the older car. This new car tomorrow's got about half the downforce of the other cars have had, and they just don't grip to the track as good as they used to.
And downforce is not such a big deal at a short track like Bristol, but the car also has a higher center of gravity, so it makes the car want to roll over in the turns more, so it does handle a little worse than the old car.
Our in-race reporter, Carl Edwards, now making a move in the 99 car, going by David Reagan at his 4th position. Edwards now in 3rd spot.
Now, if you remember one thing about Carl Edwards, he's been the best all year long in the concrete racetracks. What's the reason? I don't think anybody really knows the reason. Every now and then you come up with a good setup that you like a lot, and Carl seems to do good in these concrete tracks. But even he told us, as he was the in-race reporter earlier, that, hey, he need to get some lap under his belt and find out what it's going to take. But he loves this track so far.
How about this guy right here in his 42 car, running right behind Casey Kane in the 9? We just knew that Juan Pablo Montoya was going to be good on road courses and some other places, but would you think Bristol he would be running 2nd right here early in the race?
A year and a half ago, Juan Pablo Montoya was turning left and right on the world's greatest Formula One circuits all over Europe, and now he's battling NASCAR's finest in a great fashion here on the high banks at Bristol.
Well, guys, Juan Pablo Montoya's been used to driving a car with a rear wing on it, whether it's an Indy car or a Formula One car, and now he's in a stock car with a rear wing. You got to believe that's working to his advantage. He knows how to manipulate the car and absolutely understand what a wing does.
That's the only thing that's similar to the cars he's been driving. These cars are so much heavier and so much bigger than the cars he's driven, but they do have wings.
Jeff Burton pretending his car has wings on the sides because he is flying up through the field. He made a move a moment ago underneath McMurray. Jamie McMurray in the 26 car. Here comes, speaking of making moves, here is the 5-time winner, the 24 car of Jeff Gordon, who is the winningest active driver here, and not far behind him is the 8 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr., who started back in 17th position.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he needs to make up some points. He's just hoping that Kurt Busch has a bad day, maybe blows in engines or has a big problem, because he needs to catch him. And the only way he can catch him if something like that happens. Alan?
And it's interesting to see Dale Earnhardt Jr. running on the bottom of the racetrack here early, Rusty, because he and his crew chief worked on their car running the high lane yesterday. Tony Eury Jr. told me this afternoon, expect us to be rim riding all afternoon. Jr. can fly up there, yet he's running low right now.
Great story, Alan. We'll watch that 8 car on the bottom of the racetrack. And as you saw a moment ago on the left side of your screen, the change for 2nd position is Carl Edwards. Looks like a man on a mission. He just slid right underneath the 42 of Montoya.
Yeah, I see the 8 car Dale Earnhardt Jr. working the bottom, but you see that 4 car Ward Burton move around him. I don't think it'll be long before you'll see that 8 car back up in that top groove.
In the early laps at Bristol Motor Speedway, 500 laps of racing action. Only 18 are complete. Ryan Newman, David Reagan, Juan Pablo Montoya, Carl Edwards, and Casey Kane is the guy they're chasing. Casey Kane trying to get win number 1 here in 2007. The ancient Coliseum of Rome, where gladiators battled centuries ago, to the current concrete Coliseum at Bristol Motor Speedway. Glad to have you with us here. NASCAR Nextel Cup Series of Bristol, presented by Pennzoil. Lap 26, Casey Kane's the one they're chasing, and they're starting to mix it up. Back in the pack, heavy traffic here now for the leader early on.
Well, right now, the leader, Casey Kane, he's running down Kenny Wallace and A.J. Allmendinger at the moment right now. And it didn't take long for these guys to really catch everybody out there.
It's almost like a conveyor belt. You see these cars going all the way around the racetrack. They're strung out all the way around so that everybody's in traffic. There's no clean air out here at Bristol.
Generally, you probably saw some caution flags right now. I mean, these guys are all spread out. They're using all the lanes of the racetrack to race on. And I'm really amazed how high on the racetrack already Matt Kenseth is, right behind Jeff Burton. He's running really high every single lap. Jamie?
Rusty, Matt Kenseth certainly on the move. He started 12th. He's in 9th right now. And you know, anybody that knows about Matt Kenseth, they know he's cool, calm, collected. Well, this racetrack is so intense. His voice just went up about 4 octaves, asking his spotter, please tell me if I'm clear, as he makes the move, guys, running around that top side. It's pretty intense in these opening laps.
You see Jeff Gordon starting to explore the top. Now he goes back down to the bottom. Crew Chief Steve Letarte told me today that Jeff only worked on running the bottom of this racetrack. But if you have a good car, you can run the high line. There he goes again. So that's their mentality here. Bottom very fast for us. We think we can win down there. But if we need to run the high side, if that's working better, we can.
Heavy traffic for the leader, the car number 9, pardon me, Rusty, that is Casey Kane. Now, that's how quickly you've been there. You understand what he's looking at right now and the troubles and the concerns he has.
Well, the concerns the rest of them have right now, that the rest of them got to pick up the pace, or else Casey Kane's going to get around outside of him pretty quickly. You don't want to go to a lap down this early.
Well, Casey's got problems of his own. These guys are 2 and 3 wide in front of him. He doesn't have a lane to pass them. He's just going to have to follow until he gets an opening.
You know, we heard Jeff Burton talk earlier about his spotter. He's so dependent on the spotter. The seats in these cars are very, very tough to see out of nowadays. The side supports go down the side of your head. You glance over. On other racetrack, it's okay, but this particular track has got so much banking on the exit of the corner, guys. You can't clear yourself. You're really relying on the spotter to help you.
Let's ride along with our Wrangler telemetry, looking at Casey Kane in front of this 99 car of Carl Edwards. And Edwards now moves to the inside of Kane in traffic.
It's going to take some give and take right here because these guys don't have anywhere to go. Carl's a smart heads-up driver. I'm sure he's not going to force the issue. He may take an opening if it's there. But these guys got to work past these lap cars before they can actually settle this.
And as you can see right now in our telemetry, only about 8,000 RPMs. They can't take full advantage of what these engines have put out right now because they're in traffic. So they're actually only running part throttle just a little bit. They're wide open for just a short period of time, and then the rest of it's part throttle and keeping the rear tires biting up off the corner doing that. Dave?
Rusty, what a turnaround for Carl Edwards at this racetrack in this race car. Remember in the spring, he came here in the Busch race and won it. Was so confident about that car. He walked away from qualifying in the car of tomorrow. This car shaking his head saying, man, I don't know what the deal is. This is completely the opposite. Last night, trouble in the Busch race. He didn't run well at all. Tonight, the 99 is hooked up, and the car tomorrow is running great today for Carl Edwards.
One thing this is doing here, these lap cars are stacking up these leaders, and you got these other guys. You see Pablo Montoya in the 42 and Ryan Newman in the 12 catching these guys.
Carl Edwards able to use the traffic to go in front of Casey Kane there. They try to lap some of the cars. That is Dale Jarrett, A.J. Allmendinger there. Kenny Wallace in the 45. By the way, Kenny subbing for Kyle Petty, who broke his hand up at Watkins Glen. Out missed last week and this week. Juan Pablo Montoya hanging tough there, Allen, in 3rd spot.
Yeah, and I talked with his crew chief, Donnie Wingo, before the race about if he thought Montoya could win tonight, if he had enough experience on these Nextel Cup short tracks to win. He said, yes, he thinks he can win. And he also said one of the biggest reasons that they've all improved together is that the team has made the cars better, echoing comments by Montoya after he qualified 2nd yesterday. Better car, driver with more experience, running well right now.
Let me ask you, Rusty, Mr. 9-time Bristol winner, can Juan Pablo Montoya win it here at Bristol?
If he stays patient, Jerry, he can win this race. If he gets too excited too early and overdrives the car, he can put himself in trouble. Because, Andy, these cars don't have a lot of downforce like we talked earlier. And we saw a lot of wrecks last night in the Busch race going into turn 1 and also going into turn 3 where the drivers would actually overdrive the entries and just flat spin the cars out.
You just hit the key word right there. It's just being patient and just keeping the car clean, bringing it home. That's the one thing he's got to do. He's got the skill. He's got the car. He's got now some experience in these cars, so he can win. He just got to get it to the finish, and that's a hard thing to do here at Bristol.
You know, a lot of these drivers that are, you know, kind of lower on experience from the rest of the fellas, and I'm going to throw Juan Pablo Montoya in on that bunch because he's a great driver. We all know that, but not that much experience in a stock car. They love this car tomorrow because they really feel like it equals the playing ground. They've all had the same amount of time in it, and if they're going to strike, they feel like they can get it done now. And Juan Pablo Montoya really enjoyed that win he had out in California on a road course because of that.
He made a smart move right here. He let Ryan Newman go and didn't push the issue. Nobody's going anywhere. All these lap cars have got these leaders kind of seized up, so good smart move.
Brand new concrete, but it's the same old Bristol trying to run high, run low, but they're still running too wide here. Chasing Carl Edwards, Reagan, Montoya, Newman, Casey Kane, and Carl Edwards trying to get his first ever win here on the high banks at Bristol, Tennessee. We welcome you back to Bristol Motor Speedway. Early on, just 56 of 500 laps are complete. And take a look at our forward lap leaders. Casey Kane led the first 36 laps from the pole. And now Carl Edwards has taken the lead and has led the last 20 in a row with Casey Kane just chomping at the bit right behind him.
Yeah, guys, take a look at it. Jeff Gordon, he's on the move right now. He is right up on the rear bumper of Montoya. He caught him, backed off a little bit, and back up on him. He's got a good line out there right now. He's running fast speeds also.
His car's working good on the bottom of the racetrack, and it looks to me like the guys that have their cars working good on the bottom are able to make the passes. These guys that are running up top don't seem like they can, you know, it's like everybody's up top now. It used to be everybody on the bottom. Now everybody's up top.
Battle for second position. The 12 car of Ryan Newman now pulls in, and the 99 car is stuck in traffic behind Paul Menard, the 15.
Seems like when they get up on each other's bumpers, they just can't go because their cars won't handle. They try to move to the top lane or the bottom, choose a different lane. It's not working for them. And you can also tell the guys up front that are about to get a lap down are really up in the wheel right now.
Paul Menard and Jeff Green have been running side by side for probably 15 or 20 laps.
But Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's run one of the fastest laps of the race so far. He's has a real fast car right now. And all he's thinking, guys, I got to get in that top 12 in the chase for the championship. And again, like I said earlier in the show, he's just hoping Kurt Busch has a problem.
Alan, you got more on the 8th?
Well, you know, we're seeing Dale Jr. ride the bottom lane after the team talked about how much they worked in the top lane and that's where Jr. was going to run all night. So I just climbed up on the pit box and said to crew chief Tony Eury Jr., why is he running the bottom? He laughed, he shrugged his shoulders, said, I don't know, but it's working.
Well, one way to look at that, it's the fastest way around the racetrack, the shortest distance around the track, and if he can make it work down there, hey, why not do it?
There goes the 24 car of Jeff Gordon by the 42 of Montoya. That's for position. That's for 4th spot. By the way, Gordon again started back in 18th position and has now come all the way to 4th in the first 63 laps.
You have to wonder just how long that these leaders are going to be patient with these lap cars. As long as they've been hung in behind them, not going to be long before they start using that front bumper.
And one big difference we saw, Andy, is that the front bumper on the car tomorrow matches up perfectly with the rear bumper on the other car. So before, you used to drive up underneath and hit him, and it would lift the back of the car up. Now it's just like a direct blow. The car just shoots forward.
I think we're getting ready to see just how good it works.
Now, you would have loved that, I'm sure, Rusty, because you didn't bump anybody at Bristol during your 9 victories.
Oh, trust me. I got the bump and run put on me, Jerry, a couple times, which lost me a couple of victories, that's for sure. And every now and then I feel like I owe that 24 car for doing that to me. But
leaders are being held up. Now, take a look at our sprint speed lap. And we're going to show you what's happening with the leaders up there by lap traffic holding them up and actually slowing them down. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s last lap, 111 point. Look at, he's almost 3 miles an hour faster than the leaders because the leaders are stuck behind lap cars. Now they're finally trying to get by Paul Menard in the 15 and Jeff Green in the 66.
Yeah, and Paul Menard's not going to have none of that, though. He doesn't want to go a lap down. And right now, he's doing a pretty good job, but it looks like he just got put a lap down by Casey Kane, and now he's just got to hold on and go for the lucky dog.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. knows the pressure is on. He's 163 points out of 12th. He's got 3 races to get there. He has not finished out of the top 11 here in Bristol, Tennessee in the last 4 events. He needs a top 10 or better here tonight. And folks, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon are coming. They're 4th and 5th after 68. We welcome you back to Bristol, Tennessee. NASCAR Nextel Cup Series action presented by Pennzoil. 78 of 500 laps complete, and congestion all around this racetrack, but the 8 car is on the move and trying to pick off the 12 car of Ryan Newman. That would be for 2nd position.
Guys, the 8 car's got a solid car. At every single lap, it seems like he's the fastest car on the racetrack. And again, he's got to get it done tonight. This is very important for him. He can't be driving easy. He's got to hammer down and get all he can get because he's running out of time to make that chase.
And he's now in this mix here. You see Ryan Newman in the 12 car. He's been working underneath Paul Menard in this 15 car for I don't know how many laps now, 15 or 20 laps. I'm not sure that, that Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to be able to get clear of these guys, even though his car's faster.
I don't know if I've ever seen a race here at Bristol run this long early in the event with no problems whatsoever.
I was getting ready to say, I don't think I've ever seen us go 81 laps without someone running in or running over someone or someone getting out and throwing something at someone. This is not typical Bristol, but great 2 and 3 wide racing, allowing you to pass in heavy traffic.
You know, there's a first for everything, Jerry, and this is the first time these cars have been on this racetrack at night. They've all done all their practice and qualifying and practice, but never have they been under night conditions, so they don't know what their cars are going to handle like yet.
Battle for 4th position. Carl Edwards trying to go back around the 24 car of Jeff Gordon. Speaking of the 24, Dave.
And Doc, it is a little confusing to the drivers right now, too, with all this lap traffic and all this green flag racing. In fact, Jeff Gordon radioed in a few laps ago, hey, who am I racing? Now, he knows he's racing the 99, but earlier he was locked in a battle in traffic, and it was hard to tell what cars were in lead lap because there were some really good cars already a lap down.
You know, these long runs got to be getting hard on the drivers, too, because, you know, the longer you run, the driver starts wearing out. And you saw earlier in our countdown show, these drivers are pulling about 3.5 Gs out there. So if they stay running without a break, it can be wearing some drivers out.
Yeah, I think you're going to see that as the race wears on. If it keeps having these long green runs, these guys are really, their tongues are going to be hanging out pretty good.
Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42 car, who faded after starting 2nd, faded to about 10th position, has now been able to climb back up, and gets back in, just bobbles a little bit, trying to get the car down, not running to the back of the 99, but he's back all the way up to 6th spot.
Well, that 99 car did a good job holding on to that thing just then. He about lost it at the start-finish line. It was sliding all over. And you know, I'm starting to see a lot of drivers now losing grip and starting at the bottom and going clear to the top. Earlier, we saw Tony Stewart get loose, and now the 99 of Carl Edwards. So I believe his tires are starting to get wore out. Let's take a look at his replay at Carl Edwards, see what happened to him just a little while ago. He's coming off of turn 4. Juan Pablo gets right in his right rear quarter panel, gets him fishtailing back and forth going into turn 1, and he gathers it back up.
The 1 car of Martin Truex is right now being shown in 7th position. He has a lot to be concerned about over these next 3 races. Mike?
And that's right, Doc, because they're pretty much on the bubble, 11th in the standings. But I spoke with Kevin Mannion this morning, and he said the last thing they need to do is be conservative. He said they need to go for the wins, and if they didn't, that's when they get themselves in trouble. As for starting 25th today, he was not concerned at all, and I'll tell you why. He said he did a little bit of spying this afternoon. He looked at some of the competitors he had to beat on the racetrack and thought that some of his competition was just using too much rear spring. As he assessed his competition, he felt like some of the guys starting in front of them would be a little bit loose and they would be easy pickings. Maybe that's the case. He's moved from 25th all the way up to 7th. What do you think, Andy? How much spying did you do on the competitors during race weekend?
Mike, I did a lot of that. I would walk around and look at these guys' cars, and you can tell a lot by just looking at the springs. You can tell if they're stiff or soft just by the diameter of the wire. See these guys racing right here. And this 1 car, his car is working really good on the bottom of the racetrack. But look here, coming in the picture, Kurt Busch in this 2 car. This is a guy that's been on fire the last few weeks, and he knows a few things about this track.
Well, right now he's in the 10th position, and he's staying real patient. He knows he's got a pretty good lead when it comes to the points. He's got 163 points on Dale Earnhardt Jr. coming into this event, so he can afford to drive a little cautious. Now, Dale Jr. can't afford that at all.
Kurt Busch broke a 52-race winless streak back at Pocono, and then he won 2 weeks later, so he's won 2 of the last 3. Solidly in 12th position, trying to get his 6th win. He is a 5-time winner here at Bristol, Tennessee, although last year in the August race, he had an abysmal night and came home in 37th position. The chase of Casey King continues at lap 94. Back at Bristol, Tennessee, laps continuing to click away. We amazingly are caution free. Now, probably I'm going to regret I said that. We have gone 104 laps without a single caution flag. Very atypical for what is usually a Saturday night slugfest here on the high banks at Bristol. Now, moments ago, we nearly got some trouble because J.J. Yaley was trying to stay in front of a couple of cars, including this car, the AT&T Chevrolet of Jeff Burton. Take a look.
And boy, this is not where you want to be 3 wide. He got in the right rear of Burton and then Dale Jarrett. Everybody slides back and forth. No harm, no foul. Everybody's okay, but probably took everybody's breath on that one.
That was a close call right there.
You know, one thing I'm seeing right now, guys, everybody in the racetrack looks really loose to me. And last night in our Busch race, the same thing happened. Hardly anybody got tight. And Brad, I'm just noticing all these loose cars.
Yeah, you know what, Rusty? Andy and I spent a lot of time with Rick Campbell yesterday. He's team leader for NASCAR product development with Goodyear. And we talked about these tires and how hard the right side tires are. But what happened is the Cup race, the Cup test got rained out. So the Busch and Truck guys got a lot of practice on these tires. So these are the tires that the Busch and Truck guys use. And it's a very hard, conservative tire. And there's been a little bit of complaints about that.
We want to mention the 31 car does not have sponsor logos on it because this past week the U.S. 11th Circuit Court of Appeals overturned the injunction that had been placed that had allowed the AT&T logo on the car. And that now being overturned means that that logo has to disappear from the car. It was not grandfathered in. NASCAR has approved the paint schemes that they were bringing to the racetrack, and so Richard Childress Racing opted to bring this scheme with no logos on it to the racetrack here tonight. Alan?
And Doc, let's talk about the 31 car on the racetrack now. We saw him moving up early in the race. Now we see him slipping back with a loose condition, no rear grip on the car. Something else new about this racetrack. This is the longest any of these drivers have ever run in consecutive laps. Most of the time when they practice, they put 10, 15, maybe at the most 25 laps on a set of tires before they come in and try something else. Now they've run 100 laps on this configuration of racetrack for the first time, and some of them are finding out they don't like the way their car handles over that long a period of time.
Back toward the front, the 1 car beginning to move. We saw him move late last week at Michigan to pull off a great second place finish, and Martin Truex once again now closing in on the 24 car for 3rd position.
Here's our battle for the lead with Casey Kane.
And tell you, Casey Kane and Newman, they've been going back and forth lap after lap. And Newman almost got Kane in the left rear quarter point on that last lap and almost got him sideways. You see, he took a shot down into turn 1 and wisely got out of the throttle and let him breathe a little bit.
They've both been real patient with each other around these lap cars. And when they get a little bit open track, it looks like they try to just see what each other has.
It's sort of deja vu a little bit. Last night in the NASCAR Busch Series race, the 9 and 12 were got together in the final couple laps, and it ended up that Ryan Newman ended up cutting a tire. He was the leader, and Kane was trying to get past.
Looks like a rematch right here.
You know, going back to what Brad Daugherty said a little while ago about these tires, you know, I got to believe that after this race is over, Goodyear will come back and soften these tires up. They a little more conservative than they probably ought to be. And take a look at Kurt Busch working the outside of the old 1 car.
He's already moved by the 99 of Carl Edwards. See that 11 car coming into the picture here too, Denny Hamlin.
What about the 43 car of Bobby Labonte, who started way back in the pack driving for the King, Richard Petty, started 22nd, and Bobby has driven this car through traffic all the way up to 7th position.
And Jerry, this is Bobby Labonte's style of race. He's being patient, and that's what you need right here is patience. Brad, you got to believe that these guys are thinking about patience.
Oh, absolutely, Rusty. And to go back to your point, Rick Campbell was telling me these Goodyear tires, they're looking at this as almost a big test tonight to figure out what they need to bring back. So I'm sure when they come back next time, we'll see a little stickier tire on that right side, be even a little bit better racing. But right now, this isn't too bad.
No, they got good racing going on right now. But, hey, you know what, Brad? We're not in the driver's seat, and I know they're sliding all over the place, and they're hoping for cautions because Andy, You're calculating right now, how much farther do you think these guys can go on fuel?
I think we're going to see them in here in the next 10 or 12 laps. They've gone green. They can go about 130 laps, and they had to run quite a few of these pace laps getting started. So I think they're due in here, and that's something we haven't seen in a while is green flag stops at Bristol.
The 11 car of Denny Hamlin, although he qualified back in the 37th position, he started shotgun because they had an engine change. He started 43rd, so the 11 car has come from 43rd all the way up to 8th position. Mike.
And that team really wasn't all that concerned this morning when I spoke with Mike Ford, Doc. They really were looking at this racetrack, basically studying what they saw in the Busch race. And Mike Ford said that he saw a lot of Darlington in this new Bristol, and because of that applied some of the principles to the race car today. Really, Denny hasn't said much. A little bit loose between 1 and 2, but otherwise real happy.
Side-by-side action, and Bobby Labonte just gets nudging ahead of the 42 car. That is for the 6th position.
So you take a look at Denny Hamlin. He grew up in the short tracks. He's ran every bull ring in the Southeast. And if he's ever going to run good at a racetrack, these short tracks at Bristol's are really right up his alley.
Pit stops beginning under the green flag. They got to get down to 30 miles an hour. The 22 car of Dave Blaney. Very unique here pitting under the green at Bristol, Tennessee.
At Bristol, Tennessee, you're allowed to pit on your prospective pit road. You don't have to go all around. You don't have to enter in turn 2 and drive all the way around. If you're pitted on the front straightaway, you can enter off of turn 4. And now if you're pitting on the back straightaway, you can enter off of turn 2.
And if you are under caution, you have to come in off of turn 2 and come all the way around. The 70 car is slowed, and cars are trying to get around him, and now the caution will fly for the first time tonight.
Johnny, come on around. Pit when you can. As soon as the pit's open, come on in. We'll change right sides, guys. Get it back through.
Johnny Sauter's car slowing up high on the racetrack has had some contact.
Come on.
We almost had one of the biggest crashes of the day. Casey Kane.
It hit pretty damn hard. Steering wheel's really screwed up.
Take a look at Casey Kane, a big run coming off of turn 2, wide open, doesn't see the 70 slowed down, tucks down to the bottom, barely clears him. I'm telling you what, Andy, we almost had a big one right there.
That was real close. We saw a crash in practice with the Busch cars that was similar to that, where one of the cars was spun, stopped over there, and Reed Sorensen piled right into him. We almost saw the same thing.
And that's one of the problems you have with the high banking. They've carried the banking way far off the corner so these guys can drive better.
This is a bad break for the 22 car of Dave Blaney. He pitted under green. Now this caution comes out. It's going to really be costly for him. And Ward Burton, we saw coming down pit road right as the caution came out.
Now remember the pit procedure under caution. They all have to come on the pit road off of turn 2 and come all the way around at 30 miles an hour.
It just effectively makes it one pit road. You see these guys coming in on the back stretch. A lot of these guys are going to be pitting on the front stretch. And NASCAR just makes this act like one big long pit road by doing it this way. Jamie?
And patience has paid off for Bobby Labonte, guys. He's been here 29 times, and it's showing. He's gained 16 positions in that long stint. He just threw his air bottle out. They made a track bar adjustment around a wedge. He said he's just a little tight. Alan?
Dale Jr. described his car when the caution came out to his crew chief as neutral. That's good. It should be. He ran all the way up into the top 5. He was 5th at the time of the caution.
When the caution flag flew, the one team pumped their fist. They did not want to have to stop under green. They got their wish. 4 tires the call. A slight chassis adjustment for Martin Truex Jr., who has stormed all the way from the 25th starting position all the way into the top 3. Dave?
Mike, leader Casey Kane says, my car's loose, but I like it. 4 tires, no changes on the 9 car. Completing the left side now, trying to win the race off the pit road. He will do it easily.
First pit stops of the day under the caution, the first caution of the afternoon, and off of pit road at 30 miles per hour. Casey Kane says, I'm loose, but I like it.
He's loose and he's like it. He's been leading that race, and Casey's the type of fella that always likes to run that top lane, and he was doing that. And a little while ago, Andy, that almost bit him because I thought he was going to knock the back off that 70 car. But talk about perfect timing right now for the caution flag. These guys are just about to have to come down under green to do this.
That was a welcome break.
Caution number 1 coming out on lap 125. Johnny Sauter's car having his troubles. When we come back, Casey Kane will lead him down to the green once again.
Welcome back to Bristol Motor Speedway. What a weekend for Casey Kane in the 9 car. Won the Busch race last night with an amazing pass and takes the pole for the Cup race tonight. Let's check out our Allstate Good Hands move of the race on behalf of Casey Kane. Allstate will donate $1,000 to the Urban Youth Racing School, and this was unbelievable. Johnny Slaughter had slowed. Casey Kane comes around and just barely gets around the Brad.
That is unbelievable. You tell me these guys are the greatest race car drivers in the world, I'll eat your hat. That was unbelievable. Great reaction.
Doc, incredible that we've only had one caution tonight and no wrecks.
I've seen Brad eat a lot of things, but never a hat. But then when the way I see him eat, he can eat anything. I got to believe that. So we're getting set for the restart at Bristol, Tennessee, as they are going to bring the pace car back on the racetrack and now pull them off. They're trying to get everyone lined up. Just joined our coverage. One caution flag coming out of lap 125. The one car, Martin Truex Jr., has had to come back on the pit road a moment ago. Mike?
And that's because they failed to tighten all the lug nuts on the left rear, Doc, and they'll pay their penalty. Kevin Manion, none too happy either, came over the radio and basically reprimanded his team, then climbed down off the pit box and got in the face of one of his tire changers, but really was trying to pick them up on the radio afterwards, especially Martin, telling him that we're only about 133 laps into this race, a lot of racing to go, and reminding him that he has a very good race car.
And now we'll currently slide Martin Truex back into 12th spot in the points and move the 2 car in front of him in 11th position. Our Chevy pace car camera looking at the back of that Chevy Impala that Brett Bodine is driving. See him coming off the banking. And the cars go by. Here's Casey Kane and the 43 car of Bobby Labonte in chase in second place. Bobby Labonte wants to lead here and will dive into turn 3 and try to take it away.
Bobby Labonte gets a good run on the bottom of the racetrack. He's got fresh tires now in the shortest way around the tracks, dead on the bottom. But Kane's not going to give up that top groove. He's known for running the top groove everywhere he goes, and there's a lot of momentum up there.
Just seems like that top groove is the preferred line. And if somebody's got a real good handling car like we've seen this 43 and the 24 car, Jeff Gordon, right on the bottom, they've made some passes down there, but the preferred groove seems to be up top.
We saw last night in the Busch race, these guys would go really fast for about 15 to 20 laps on these new tires, and then it would kind of level out, and it was hard for people to pass. So if they're going to strike, and if they're going to get some positions, they got to do it early.
Battle for second place. Jeff Gordon showing a lot of muscle there after that pit stop. Pulls to the inside. He really drives it into turn 3.
He's had the best handling car on the bottom of the racetrack I've seen all night. He makes that pass on Bobby Labonte look easy.
Jamie, you got more in the 43?
Guys, they had a great stop for Bobby Labonte. 4 tires. He was just a bit tight, but what's great about this team right now is they have new chemistry. There's a new crew chief, Doug Randolph. This is just their second race together, just 4 days ago or 5 days ago now in Michigan. They had a top 10 finish. I asked Doug about being here tonight. He said, this is my first ever Car of Tomorrow race that I'm crew chiefing, and guys, obviously, so far, so good.
The 8 car, Jamie, now been trying to move in on Bobby Labonte. Others, that's the 12 car he's trying to get by Ryan Newman. That is 4th position. That's for 4th spot.
You see this upper lane really is paying off for Ryan Newman. Junior not quite able to get clear.
And Kurt Busch working the bottom lane also. He's got a good handling car. And Juan Montoya, you know, he's used to bigger racetracks, faster cars, but he's took a liking to this Bristol Motor Speedway, this new design. He's kept the fenders clean on that 42 Haviland Dodge. He's looking good out there right now, guys.
Yeah, they're racing for 8th, 9th, and 10th here. You see him racing around Kenny Wallace, a lap car in the 45.
17 car of Matt Kenseth, who won last August and won the August before. He's awfully good here on the night races in Bristol under the lights. More on Juan Pablo. Let's check in with Alan Besser.
Yeah, just following up on what Rusty was saying about him just a minute ago. I talked to Juan Pablo just before the race during driver introductions, and keeping those fenders clean was one of his goals tonight. He wanted to stay out of trouble, get to the end of the race, and then see what they had to go race with.
Alan, really good point there, because a lot of drivers you talk to tell you, hey, what's the key to winning here at Bristol? You can't win the race unless you got really good fenders and they're creating good downforce on these cars. If you get rooting and gouging and banging and tearing the front of the car up, you're not going to run fast and you can't win.
We've already heard Juan Pablo Montoya tell his spotter about 100 laps ago when he let the 12 car Ryan Newman go by. Says too early to race him here. A lot of maturity for a driver here, and he wouldn't have done that early in the year.
He's definitely matured in these cars and learned a lot about stock car racing. But one thing I see here is almost all these guys seem to have that mentality tonight. They're just trying to keep their cars clean. We see these cars with less damage than we've ever seen them at 150 laps in. These guys just still racing side by side and giving each other plenty of room.
84, A.J. Allmendinger, the former open wheel ace, and a little contact here with the 25 car.
Oh, that's a little uncalled for in the middle of back straightaway. I don't know what that was all about, but he got down in the bottom part of the racetrack and almost got up into Kurt Busch there, it looks like, but everything's okay with him right now.
Looks like a typical Bristol tempers to me.
It sure does. Hey, you know one thing I should talk about, guys, the racetrack, it looks white. It is concrete, but below that, you would think that's asphalt, that black color. They've actually took that concrete and dyed it black. That's black concrete. It's not asphalt. And the drivers used to get down on that asphalt and slide all over the place. So you got to hand it to Bruton Smith and Jeff Bird and all the guys here at Bristol to do that, because there's more grip that way. And, hey, it looks the same.
Casey Kane has led twice for 121 laps. So let's take a look at our AT&T Crew Chief Challenge. Now, who has the best chance to win his first NASCAR Nextel Cup Series race of the season? Is it 1, Greg Biffle, 2, Clint Moyer, 3, Dale Earnhardt Jr., 4, Casey Kane? Text the word crew to 191 on your wireless phone and send in your answer. The results will be shown later in the race here tonight. Welcome back to the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series at Bristol, presented by Pennzoil. Our aerial coverage high atop this concrete coliseum brought to you by our good friends at Goodyear, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for the past 25 years. Casey Kane has now led twice for 133 laps. He had led just 66 laps in the first 23 races this year. He has led twice that many here tonight.
Well, one guy out there, Denny Hamlin, the 11 car, he's starting to have problems now. He's slowing. It looks like his engine's down in 7 cylinders. Says a battery, but Andy, I thought I just saw some smoke come out of that car.
I think they're just being optimistic. They're looking for an electrical problem. It looks like he may have a problem with the engine because it's definitely not running on the straightaway. And we did see some smoke right there.
Remember, they changed the engine in this car before the race, so he had to go all the way to 43rd spot and came all the way to 5th. Mike?
And some alarming radio traffic, Doc. Just a moment ago, Denny Hamlin came over the radio and said, I think we're blowing up. Mike Ford told him to switch boxes. He did, and it did not cure the problem. So obviously, the 11 team up on the wall, ready for that car to come down pit road sometime soon.
Well, there's nothing good about having an engine problem, but the only thing good, he is locked in the chase for the championship right now. So even if he goes out, he's in. And there's a lot of guys out there can't say that.
You'll hear us say this time and time again tonight. The leader is in traffic once again. Casey Kane 3 wide above the 22. Now thinks better of it and falls back in behind the 22 of Dave Blaney. Now Jeff Gordon has had his hands full early on tonight, but his car running real well. And now let's listen in to what he and his crew chief had to say here a moment ago.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. It's going to be a hard one to fix. So I'm going to take some smaller swings at it because we are good, but we need to be better.
I'm just curious to see what it does here because I was dead sideways at the start of this race.
Yeah, just let me know what it does.
You're gonna know as soon as I do.
All right, for more information on Team Chatter, log on to ESPN.com. Search word communications. Dave?
And so far, no comment back to his crew about those changes, Doc. It's one of two things. Either the car's working very well, or probably Jeff is waiting to see what it does when the tires are old, worn out. Did that chassis setup do what it wants to do on old, worn out stuff? But they're having a lot of fun down in that pit tonight. Steve Letarte talking to me earlier today. He said, we're going to try some stuff. Hey, if I get off sequence with everybody else, that's fine with me because I'm not here to do anything but win.
Well, right now, it sounds like he started the race loose, and he's been driving that car loose the whole race, and he's probably about sick and tired of it. If he gets it tighter, maybe he can run a little faster.
Well, that's what he's talking about there. He said, you know, keep me abreast of what's going on here because this thing really started out loose. And that's a real key thing there with the driver talking to the crew chief, telling him what it's doing so he can make those changes and then anticipate maybe what the track's going to do later.
Let's watch the 8 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. a moment ago. Looked like he almost backed out a moment and let some cars go by. Now he has come back in the throttle and pulled right up on the rear of the 12 car for Ryan Newman.
You know, he's really driving smart. I got to hand it to Ryan Newman today. He's got a smart race going on. He's not really challenging too hard and tore his car up last night. He got deep in the race, only a couple laps to go, and got a little aggressive and wasn't able to finish his race. And I got to believe that's on his mind now.
Well, both of these guys, the 12 car and the 8 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr., are both outside looking in on this chase. They know they have to finish this race. They can't roll the dice like you see Denny Hamlin, Jeff Gordon, and these guys that are locked into the chase. They have to finish races. They've got to have to have a solid finish to stay in contention.
Remember, coming into tonight, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was 13th in points, and Ryan Newman was 14th, just 8 points behind, and these guys can ill afford any kind of contact with anyone.
Well, the guy I'm looking at right now is a 1-car Martin Truex. He's went from dead last year after that loose lug nut, that penalty where he had to start in the back. He's worked himself all the way up to 20th. And, hey, he's one of the guys right now who's locked into the chase for the not locked in, but he's locked in with the 12th position. And he's only, well, he doesn't have too big a jump on him when it comes to the points. But, you know, where I was going with that story a little while ago is that his crew chief really calmed him down. He was all upset about those loose lug nuts, got him calmed down. Now he's driving that thing up to the front, and now he's just moved into the 19th position.
The pressure's really on this one team because they are the ones right now in the 12th spot. Everybody's shooting for that 12th spot or higher to try to get into this chase. So pressure's definitely on the one team.
And you know, crew chiefs not only have to make the calls in terms of chassis, you got to be part-time psychiatrists, these guys. You got to get inside that helmet and make sure they understand what the big picture is about.
There's more of that than you think, Doc.
And you're going to have to get me a calculator to figure out these point standings because they're changing with every pass out there.
177 laps, and Casey Kane, who won the NASCAR Busch race last night, having his way here early on in the Cup event. Let's take a look at our Crown Royal crowning moment. Last night, NASCAR Busch Series action, late laps at Bristol Motor Speedway. 8 laps to go. The 12 car of Newman was the leader. Here comes the 9 of Casey Kane. There's contact. They squeeze Newman between Kane and Jason Leffler. Final lap coming out of turn 4. Kane takes the win, and there's Toyota tag behind him. Leffler gets tagged from behind. He finishes second, and David Rudeman a great run in third spot.
Jimmy McMurray and his 26 car is really fighting to stay on the lead lap here with Casey Kane working the bottom side of the racetrack, trying to get by and can't quite get him cleared.
Well, McMurray, he's at the tail end of the lead lap right now. If the 9 gets past him, you know, he's going to be the first guy to get the lucky dog.
Fellas, remember these guys, the Kevin Harvick and Juan Pablo Montoya from Watkins Glen. Dare say they're not the best of friends as of yet. And watch them side by side here at Bristol. Oh, a little squeeze there.
Oh, and Kevin stays in the throttle, gets him in the left rear quarter panel and says, take that. See you later, dude.
Watkins Glen, 2 races ago. It was coming down to the final laps here, going into turn 1, and there was contact.
Oh, yeah, and Kevin Harvick, he was so mad at Juan Pablo Montoya, but Montoya really couldn't do nothing about it. He gets hit hard right there. He got loose getting into one, took Kevin with him, and boy, there was no love lost between these 2 guys right here. Pushing and shoving, slapping each other, and name calling, and come get me, dude. I'm not backing down.
And again, side by side out on the racetrack. Harvick in the 29 car on the bottom, Montoya the 42 up high as they battle for the 10th position. And Harvick had it, Montoya takes it back.
It's like 2 guys, neither one of them want to give any ground. These guys have been racing each other really hard. Alan?
Well, I'll hate to disagree with you, but the radio traffic on Montoya's channel says she's not really racing Harvick that hard. His spotter, Tab Boyd, had told him the 07 knocked the 29 into you, and Montoya said, that's okay, because I had just waved him through and that happened anyway. So, attention down, Montoya says, everything's cool, we're sticking to our game plan, Dave.
Interestingly, Alan, during that contact, you saw the 3rd car involved there was Harvick's teammate, the 07, and Kevin's comments right after he got into the 42 was, hey, tell Clint, man, he's got one coming. That wasn't good.
Well, I hear all that, but I still don't think Kevin Harvick likes Juan Pablo Montoya. I don't think Montoya likes him either, so.
16 car of Greg Biffle now becoming a factor. Biffle moving up on the back of the 29 for Harvick. That is for the 11th spot.
And Biffle's got that top side working good, too. Kevin's car is starting to fall off a little bit, not running like it did early in the race. And Biffle's the other way around. He's found some rhythm, and he's got a lot of bite going on there. His car's handling good.
It's like Casey Kane finally got clear of the 26 car, Jamie McMurray. Now these other guys are stuck behind Jamie trying to fight by him. They get up there and maybe race the 9 car.
Now McMurray, he's hoping for a caution flag right now, because if it falls now, he'll get the lucky dog and get back on this lead lap.
But that's why these guys don't just lay over when they do get lapped. They want to stay up there as far as they can, because as long as they're the first car 1 lap down, if the caution comes out, they'll get that, what we call the free pass, and get back on the lead lap.
Side by side a moment ago for 3rd position. Dale Earnhardt Jr. now gets the highest spot he's had all night long in 3rd spot, starting back in 17th. Bobby Labonte in the 43 car back to 4th.
Right now, Jamie McMurray, who's the lucky dog, if it comes out right now, he is just hoping this caution flag, like I said earlier, because the next guy ahead of him that Casey Kane's going to run down is Robbie Gordon, and Robbie Gordon is driving his brains out too. And I don't think McMurray wants to mess with Gordon, because those two are wrestled pretty hard over this lucky dog spot.
Nobody's really been laying over for these leaders. They've been racing them very hard all night long. You can see how this, even though we've got this 2 and 3 lanes of racing, it's still hard for these leaders to work by these lap cars.
3 wide going into turn 3, guys, and they made it. This multi-group banking at this track is just fantastic. It's holding them. They're not getting out of control, and it's working.
Glenn Boyer in the 07, that's for position. He is 8th. The 17 car of Kenseth is 9th.
And this 6 car of David Reagan made a pit stop about 10 laps ago, and he's got fresh tires on, and that's what you're seeing here, what these new tires are worth. These guys on new tires with the guys on old, against guys on old tires, they can really make some ground here. And you see that's what the 6 car's doing.
Yeah, the way this race is running right now, it really shows how hard this tire is. These guys are running the same laps from the beginning of the run to almost end of the runs, only a couple tenths of a second different. That's about it. And the goodie that you and I were talking about on the tire, where it's got some grip early for those first 15 laps, well, folks, that's gone right now. Now they're just running these consistent lap times, and when they're running the same speed, they just can't pass anybody.
It seems like those new tires are worth something for just a few laps, maybe 10 or 15 laps, and after that, they all kind of even out.
Jamie, what's going down on there with that 07 car? What's going on down there?
Clint Boyer, you're talking about on the move up. He started 15th. I talked to Gil Martin, his crew chief, earlier today. They had everything they could take out from underneath the hood out of the car. And I said, what happened? He said, last night we discovered we had an oil leak. He said, now normally we wouldn't be too stressed. We kind of let it slide. But because of the points chase right now, and they want to lock themselves in that top 12, he said, if it's dirty, we will fix it. We're so concerned right now about making positions up on the track and gaining points right now. That's all they can think about. So there's a lot on the line, but right now, obviously those changes and that oil leak fixing it today paid off.
Brad, you can add as well?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with Clint yesterday, and, you know, as time goes on, each week that goes by and he does not get that win, the pressure, you can just see it mounting on him. He feels like he's let a couple slip away this year, particularly at Infineon. He feels like he should have gotten a win. So I saw it yesterday when we were talking in his face that it's just draining out of him. The pressure is on him to run up front and to get that win, because he's been in the top 5 in the percentage of laps led this season, and he doesn't have much to show for it.
Glenn Boyer 3 times here at Bristol, Tennessee. His best finish came at 8th back in the spring of this year. He was 38th in this race a year ago, and we got a car sideways. Lots of flames underneath the hood of the 11 car.
Slide down. It's on fire. Hop out.
Looks like that engine finally let go in the 11 car.
You know, if he lost a cylinder,
the fire has gone out.
If he lost a cylinder, Andy, and dropped the valve through the piston, that would cause the fire, I would think. So
Clear to the truck.
We can look at that later on. I think we got an animation that can show that.
The 11 car of Denny Hamlin had been running at the end of the last 53 consecutive races, and that will come to an end tonight as it goes up in just an array of smoke and flames in the 11 car. That he had changed the engine just prior to the race and had to go to the rear of the pack in 43rd. He'd driven it all the way to 5th and then began to slow down.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, everybody behind him did a good job holding on to it, because that thing was dumping smoke and oil, and whether the track was slick or not, they couldn't see behind him at all getting through the corner, but they all made it through pretty clean.
guess this answers the question whether it was electrical or not.
No, it wasn't electrical.
I don't believe it was. That was definitely inside the engine.
When they let go at Bristol, it happens in a big way.
What looks like happened here is probably they broke a valve spring, and maybe after that, then the other parts start failing. Tim Brewer can tell us a whole lot more about that in our Dish Tech Center. Tim?
Thanks, Andy. What we're anticipating right here, folks, is the valve spring possibly broke in this area, maybe over-revved it or whatever. But what we're going to show you right here is what's going to happen next. When the valve comes down after the spring broke, it's going to get caught. It's not going to set back down on the seat properly. Therefore, it's going to pop the head off the valve eventually. And when it does that, total devastation for the engine. It's going to be a hole in the piston, and that's where you've seen all the smoke and all the fire come out from under the hood.
Yeah, that just goes, when that head of that valve goes in there, it just wreaks havoc inside that engine, destroys it. Pit road is open. The leaders are coming down pit road on the backstretch.
30 miles an hour, under caution for the second time. They pitted on lap 127 in the first caution flag of the night. Jamie.
Bobby Labonte been silent on the radio since the last stop. He said he's tight in the middle off. They're going to go up 2 rounds on that track bar, try to free him up a bit, make an air pressure adjustment, and he's out. Alan?
Junior continuing to describe his car as neutral. That's good in handling terms, a 4-tire change, and nothing else for the 8 car.
'24 car getting tires changed on the right and left side. Major adjustment in the chassis there, Andy.
Yeah, we see these guys screwing those jack screws around there, trying to change the handling characteristics of this 24. So Jeff's calling for something he wants in the car.
Jeff Gordon down and away. We heard 2 rounds on the track bar up on the 43 car. What are they trying to do for Bobby Labonte? Making a lot of adjustments on these guys. Bobby Labonte, one of the guys like Jeff Gordon, who was also trying to get his car dialed in.
They raise that track bar up. What they're trying to do is free the car up and may have a little more push than he wants. So they just raise that track bar up, makes the car a little freer, makes the front wheels turn a little better.
Second caution flag today coming out on lap 210 when an engine erupts for Denny Hamlin. Back with the green in a moment. Set for the restart at Bristol, Tennessee. Let's listen into the drivers and spotters as we go full throttle.
Green flag, green flag. Green flag. Clear, nothing behind you. Stay on there now. Stay on there. The 10 now. Clear low. Clear. All yours, man. 1 back. 2 back.
2 wide racing at Bristol, Tennessee. Casey Kane has led now twice for 193 of 221 laps. The caution flag just a moment ago. An engine or something erupting in the 11 car of Denny Hamlin. He's standing by with Mike.
Doc, there were warning signs before the spin and subsequent crash. Denny Hamlin was on the radio about 20 laps earlier saying it sounded like something was amiss. What was it like for you driving what you thought was pretty much a ticking time bomb there? You knew it was going to blow up.
Well, yeah, I mean, we knew it was coming, but wow, I couldn't be prouder for this whole FedEx Freight team. To come from 43rd to 7th on that first run was unbelievable. Our car was magnificent. It was just awesome, and I couldn't be proud of this whole race team. And it's the first time I'm going to have a DNF and walk away with a smile on my face, because these guys are going to have to deal with this team for the rest of the season.
And guys, there's plenty of reason for Denny Hamlin to walk away with that smile on his face. Believe it or not, this is only his 2nd career DNF.
Thanks, Mike. You got to wonder, Andy, if this team is now already locked into the chase where they're doing some R&D trouble up across the racetrack. Contact, the 0-1 car is involved. That is Eric Almirola. And, of course, the 84 also there, A.J. Allmendinger.
It's like the wing is still attached to the back of both their cars. Let's take a look at this replay, see what happened here.
Jimmy Johnson's trying to get by these guys. Gets into the 0-1. Kind of a chain reaction here.
Yeah, it looks like Jimmy just gave the 01 a shot and lunged him forward into the back of the 84 car, and they both spin out, and Jimmy drives on by them both.
Yeah. I think that's just a little bit of frustration on Jimmy Johnson's part here. These guys were a lap down, and he's trying to get by them.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson not having the kind of night he's accustomed to. He's back in 19th position and yet to make it to the top 15 and struggling as evidenced by that tap there just a moment ago.
Welcome back to the Nextel NASCAR Cup Series at Bristol, presented by Pennzoil. And what a weekend it's been for Casey Kane so far. He's led way more laps tonight than he had all last season. He started on the pole tonight. Turns out 4 of his 7 career wins have come from the pole. Let's get the full story in our McDonald's race rundown. And Casey Kane leads the field to green and leads a lap for the first time ever at Bristol, and he's really run the heck out of that car tonight.
He really has, Susie. There's been a resurgence for Casey Kane this second half of the season. He has come on strong, really out front, cranking on that race car, ran off and left everyone early.
And demonstrating his skill as a driver. The first caution came out when Johnny Sauter slowed up top, and Casey Kane, great job getting around him.
That was incredible. Most of the time the guys are letting out, just trying to get woed up. But look at that. He missed him by less than a foot. Great awareness by Casey Kane.
Second caution of the night on lap 211. Denny Hamlin felt the impending doom, and then the engine gave out.
He has been the Energizer Bunny this season as far as consistency is concerned. Had a little bad luck tonight, but Denny Hamlin, that FedEx team, they will bounce back.
Only the second DNF of his career, but he's locked into the chase. Joins Jeff Gordon and Matt Kenseth locked in. Doc?
48 car came on the pit road. Jimmy Johnson checking out, opting to bring him in and put some tires on. Mike?
And Doc, they've been struggling with that race car all evening long, mostly tight. The last time down, they pulled the spring rubber. This time, though, major adjustments. They went up 3 rounds on the track bar, took 4 tires and fuel, still trying to free up Jimmy.
Very atypical night for the reigning Cup Series champion, Jimmy Johnson, as he has had 3 consecutive top 5 finishes.
Well, that was a smart move, him pitting.
He missed an opportunity to pit on the first time by there. Some of those guys came in. I was kind of speculating that was an opportunity those guys should have jumped on to get tires, and then the next lap they came in. So
coming down for the restart, we are 18 laps away from the halfway point. Side by side, the battle for second and lap traffic behind Casey Kane. Jeff Gordon with the 8 car of Earnhardt Jr. chomping at the bit right behind him.
You guys, they can run all over this racetrack. They're using the top, the middle, and the bottom. And by doing that, there's no marbles on the racetrack. The rubber buildup that you want to stay out of. They're basically running everywhere on the track and not hitting any of that stuff. It's just a great feeling on a restart where you know you can put the car wherever you want to. Take a look at Dale Jr. going to the front right now, moving up the racetrack in front of Carl Edwards, trying to get some momentum up off the corners doing that.
Edwards has already led for 28 laps, and he's one of the 2 leaders we've had, Casey Kane and Carl Edwards, and Edwards all over the back of Earnhardt Jr.
These guys are racing hard there. It looked like they had just a slight bit of contact here in the last lap. No trouble, though.
Well, we talked about if these tires are fresh, go get it right now, and they've cooled down enough that there's more grip this way, and so you see Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to overhaul Jeff Gordon right now in that bottom lane by doing that.
Earnhardt Jr. says, if you're going to mess with me, Carl, I'm going to mess with Jeff Gordon and try to take this spot away, and he moves to the bottom side. Looks like he will take that 3rd position away. Dave.
And Jeff Gordon not happy with his race car even after those changes on that last stop. Says it takes off great, then it gets bad loose when I want to get back to the gas. And in fact, it was tenuous enough that he said if Junior wants by early on in this run, I'll let him go. And that's how he's running right now. Alan.
And the other side of that story, Jeff Gordon spotter told Dale Jr. spotter Steve Neal that, hey, the 24 car says he wants to lead, but he knows you're faster, so if you get clear of the lap traffic, he'll let you go. And Dale Jr. came on his radio, and he kind of chuckled, and he said, well, I want to lead too.
Well, Dale Jr. needs a lead. He needs to get everything he can. Jeff Gordon's already locked in the chase for the championship, and the 8 car's got nothing to lose. If I was him, I wouldn't be putting up with that right now.
The only problem is Casey Kane's driven away from these guys by about 1.3 seconds while they were back there racing each other.
There's the 9 car of Casey Kane. Spoke with Ray Evernham, who's now the co-owner of Gillette Evernham Motorsports yesterday as he was coming into he said, the problem we have this year, we either qualify real well and run terribly, or we qualify horribly and run pretty well. We can't ever get it together. Now, we got a car on the pole here. The question is, can we finally dial it in and follow up a good qualifying run?
It looks like they've done that. They've been able to keep this car up front all night long. They won the Busch race last night. One thing that tells me is probably that some of the problems they're having are aerodynamic problems instead of mechanical issues, because this racetrack is more about the mechanical part of the car, the springs, the shocks, and all that stuff. It's not so much dependent on the aerodynamics.
And when you walk down to the garage area and you look at all the different settings on these cars, the bump stops, they run in the shock absorbers, the lengths of the A-frames, the springs, there's so many things that are adjusting on this car tomorrow that, I really, if there's more options right now than they're running on the other car. They've kind of honed into that stuff.
That's the only thing they can work on with this car, because they can't touch the body of this car. It's all locked down by NASCAR and all these array of templates that they have. So the only place they can work on them is the chassis, the A-frames and the shocks and the springs and all that stuff. So that's what they work on.
Now, you were talking about at Watkins Glen. Some of these guys are going to take the Watkins Glen car and run it at Talladega.
Yeah, that to me just blew me away, that they can take a car from Watkins Glen or even Bristol and take it to Talladega. That's just how much NASCAR's locked these bodies down. They won't let these guys work on them at all. So a car that runs good here at Bristol runs just as good at Talladega.
And that's what NASCAR's goal was, to try to save money. Instead of running 15 or 16 cars, these guys can maybe run this series in 8 cars now with these new rules.
Time now to reveal the results of our AT&T Crew Chief Challenge. Now, the question was, who has the best chance to win his first Nextel Cup Series race of the season? Who was it? Who are you going to vote for?
Come on,
I just don't know how you're going to bet against Casey Kane.
I bet against Casey. Oh, Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets the vote over Casey Kane, despite the fact that Earnhardt Jr. hasn't led a lap and Kane has dominated tonight.
I think there's too many of these fans out there voting when they're hard.
Come on, you guys learned your lesson last week. Now we went through the same thing.
Well, to be fair, Dale Earnhardt Jr. does look like he's catching Casey Kane just a little bit right here.
Yeah, there was a close vote, that's for sure. But we all know that Dale Jr. right now is NASCAR's most popular driver, and that has a big influence on these votings.
Earnhardt Jr. again just has tonight, next week at California and Richmond to find a way to get his car in the top 12. He came into tonight 163 points back. He needs to get to the front and lead a lap to get those 5 bonus points.
Well, right now he's 147 points behind, so he's picked up a little bit.
250 laps in, and it's Carl Edwards running third, trying to get win number 1. Dale Earnhardt Jr. making a charge from 17th spot, but the guy they've been chasing all night long is Casey Kane on the high banks at Bristol. Our NASCAR Nextel Cup action at Bristol is being presented by Pennzoil. Not just oil, Pennzoil. By Office Depot, official office supplier of NASCAR. By Ford, bold moves, they happen every day. And by Sprint, featuring NASCAR Nextel Cup Series updates at Sprint Speed. If you understand the history of Bristol, you know that it's about time. We're just past the halfway point. This is now when tempers begin to flare and fenders could fly. The high banks of Bristol, and it can get heated here in a hurry. Hot temperatures and hot tempers as we are now past halfway, 262 laps in the books. It has been a very unseasonably quiet night at Bristol, Tennessee thus far. Jeff Gordon losing a spot, back to 5th position.
Well, not yet. Ryan Newman's working on him here. Here he gets clear.
Actually back to 6th position as Newman takes the 5th spot.
We're about just over halfway past this race, and Jeff's still got a lot of time to work in the car. The problem is we've been going so caution-free forever now, and generally have a lot of caution flags to work in these things. So next time he pits, he's got to make the right decision this time what he needs on his car.
Yeah, all these guys have been trying to get their cars dialed in and talking back and forth to their crew chiefs. And we've been watching this 12 car, and he's been trying to make a few changes on it. If you got more down there, Dave?
Yeah, guys, on the 12 car of Brian Newman, you were talking about it earlier. They need to run very well. They need to get themselves into the chase for the Nextel Cup. They can't finish like they've averaged here. His average finished 21st. And talking to crew chief Mike Nelson earlier today, I asked him, Pat Trice's got a lot of good pub for helping that that 2 car. Any of that translating over to you? He said Pat has helped this Penske program a lot. In both cases, we do share a lot of information, and the 2 car success has helped us as well. Example again tonight, Newman running fast.
And both of these cars are in the top 5 right now, so that information is definitely making its way across the teammates.
Wendy, you know team morale is everything in the world. And last week I took a tour of the Penske facility. Hadn't been there like 6 months, and the attitude in that facility was sky high with Pat Trice and me in there. Every room I went in, they kept saying how Pat has brought the attitude and the comfort back, and all the employees. I love working there now with Pat around.
It's all about chemistry. Here we got Clint Boyer chasing down Jeff Gordon in this 24 car.
That is for the 6th position. Clint Boyer trying to follow up on his career best finish of 8th back in the spring here. And don't look now, but the 43 car of Bobby Labonte is coming in a hurry. The King Richard Petty's car. So successful in Bristol over the years with the King aboard now is Bobby Labonte, and he's trying to reel these guys in that are running in 6th and 7th.
Bobby's car's been strong all night long. He lost a couple of spots on pit road on that last pit stop under caution, and these guys are trying to work their way back up, but his car's strong.
Now the 18 car, J.J. Yeley, he's really on the move. He's went from 40th all the way up to 11th position right now after an early incident today. And he's got a good handling car, and little damage on a right rear quarter panel, but nothing that's really going to affect that car. Good run for him so far.
J.J. Yeley trying to drive and see what's going to happen for 2008. Remember, he's being relieved of this ride because Kyle Busch is going over to drive for Joe Gibbs Racing, and J.J. is a free agent right now in the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series.
Is it just me, or does it seem like these guys drive a little bit harder when they're looking for a job, Rusty?
Well, generally, you know, if they're looking for a job, Andy, they drive a little harder, or else they just start wrecking because they're driving too hard. Dave, what's going on down there, buddy?
Well, Rusty, talking with crew chief Steve Addington earlier today, I said, I know JJ's leaving. What about you and the team? He said, oh, we are the team for the future with Kyle Busch. I will try to keep as many guys together and build that team and keep it strong for Kyle when it comes over. But right now, we're just trying to stay focused on the fact that we are still the 18 and we'll be the 18 next year.
J.J. Yeley just takes a top 10 spot away from the 29 car, Kevin Harvick.
Leaders in heavy traffic, left side of your screen, Casey King getting beneath Jamie McMurray. McMurray was one of the early cars to watch, running 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the first 50 laps. He is faded now, being shown a lap down. Casey Kane has dominated the laps led here tonight. He has led twice for 247 laps.
Guys, right now, Casey Kane is on the verge of a dominant performance, and the last time we've seen this was Kurt Busch in Michigan, and then before that, a Pocono by Kurt Busch again. And Casey Kane's got this Dodge going tonight. The Dodges have been on a roll this year.
Looks like he's getting a little frustrated with these lap cars. He's had a lot of trouble with these guys trying to get around him tonight.
Casey Kane has not won in 2007. He has only 2 top 10s. Doesn't have a top 5 all year long. He could change that all here tonight. The sights and sounds of the night thus far here on the high banks at Bristol, Tennessee. 287 laps are in the books. NASCAR Nextel Cup coverage presented by Pennzoil. And has been the Casey Kane show. Casey Kane from the pole was led twice for 260 laps. The only other leader was Carl Edwards once for 28 consecutive laps.
Well, it just might turn into the Dale Earnhardt Jr. show here shortly. If he can catch Kane, he's got a good second place run going. But Carl Edwards is moving up in the 3rd position and not letting Junior get away from him whatsoever.
Yeah, these guys are fighting by some of these lap cars. And I see another car up here getting ready to go a lap down. We see Casey Kane working inside of Scott Riggs, but just ahead of them is Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car. He's got just a few laps fresher tires than these guys because he pitted under that last caution, but it's just not helped. These guys have been struggling tonight.
And right now, Jamie McMurray doesn't want Casey Kane to pass that 10 car, because if Casey gets past the 10, then the 10 car becomes our new lucky dog, and it was Jamie McMurray.
Casey Kane, who had led just 66 laps in the first 23 races of 2007. Look how many he's led tonight. 262 in that Dodge for Gillette Evernham Motorsports, and Carl Edwards, the other leader here. If you look at our forward lap leader is Bill Boyd.
It's looked good for him so far, but I know one lap that he wants to lead, and that's that last one. He'd give all these up for that last lap.
More on Casey Kane. Dave?
Yeah, guys, and he almost had that going earlier this year here at Bristol. Remember, he ran in the top 5 most of the day, and while running 8th late in the race around lap 282, had a flat left rear tire, ended up in the turn 4 wall. That ended his good run. He had qualified on the outside of the front row that day, and this day, of course, yesterday, he qualified on the pole. So Casey Kane looking better, looking like he was in March, and hoping for the final result.
This car of tomorrow for these guys has really proven to be maybe the healing salve this team needs, because they've not had any luck with this other car, with the current car. They've tried a old nose, a new nose. They've tried all kinds of things, but this car of tomorrow seems to have been working well for them. They ran good here in the spring. They're running great tonight, led a lot of laps, so maybe this is just what they need.
Well, you know, they used to have the dominant car, the older car, but then they lost their mojo, so to speak, and they've chased it all over the place, and enough so that's really confusing them. But like you said, Andy, this has got to be a good, you know, aspirin for all these guys to speak of in this 9 team, because, gosh, they're running good, and they seem like they're doing it easy also.
Speaking of a guy who may have a big-time headache tonight, Jimmy Johnson, the 48 car. There's Jimmy, the reigning Cup champion, back in 21st spot, in danger now of going a lap down to Casey Kane.
Really been struggling with that 48 car, and he won't just lay over for Casey Kane. He's going to fight hard for this spot.
Kane the leader, Earnhardt Jr. in 2nd spot, Edwards is 3rd, Kurt Busch in the 2 car, coming off that big win at Michigan in the rain-delayed Michigan race last Tuesday, now being shown back in 4th position. Big concern coming into tonight was who among the 5 drivers who had a shot could get in that top 12 or stay in that top 12 in the race to the chase. The 2 car, winning 2 of the last 3, was holding on to that 12th position. Ahead of him was Martin Truex Jr. by just 33 points. And Truex Jr., who had a lug nut issue early in the race, had to come back on the pit road in the 1 car, now being shown there in 11th position.
Well, Jerry, Truex and Kurt Busch are just flopping back and forth as this race goes on, from the 11th position to the 12th position, so nobody's running away from each other at all. And you know that Truex is being told where he's at in the point standings right now, probably by his crew chief, and he's driving his brains out. Mike, what's going on down there?
Well, actually, Rusty, what he's being told is to be real patient right now. Kevin Mannion keep coming on the radio, reminding him how many more laps there are. As for what Martin Truex is saying in return, radio silence. Hasn't really said anything all race. Very content with his car and very focused, trying to get back to the front after restarting 26th.
Well, you see our graphic right now showing Martin Truex 156 points right now versus Kurt Busch's 153, so they're within 3 points of each other, and that's just like 1 position, guys.
This 1 car's been solid all night. He's sitting here in 11th spot. He doesn't really need to worry about anything or trying to make anything happen. He just needs, just like his crew chief just told him, just be cool here and just make laps. Don't do anything to beat yourself.
One of the cars we've been watching early on, or most of the night, is the 16 car of Greg Biffle. Brad?
Yeah, I spoke with Greg earlier today and sat down and talked with him, and I asked him about the struggle at the beginning of the season and the causes for that struggle. You know, was it the breakup of he and Doug Rickert from last year, they had a lot of success, or was it he had a hard crash early in the season in testing at Las Vegas? Did that take a little bit out of him? And he said absolutely not. It's none of those things. What has happened to him is they've gone back to some old setups and they've shortened the spindles. He's got the short spindles back on the race car. And let's go down to the Dish Tech Center and see if Tim Brewer, our crew chief, can give us a little more insight on what Greg's talking about.
Thanks, Brad. What we're doing to show you here, folks, is a pretty sophisticated process, but what it's about driver preference. When they're talking about the spindle, you're talking about the height between the lower ball joint and the upper ball joint. We can standardize these things by a measurement that comes from the manufacturer, but what we have a tendency to do, when a driver has a preference that he wants to wheel to gain a little bit more camber, we'll maybe shorten this thing up just a little bit right here. But there again, when Biffle and those guys want the car to turn better in the middle of the corner, we'll move this ball joint down as much as an inch. But what we have to do, we have to fabricate a steering arm to do that. But it's a very sophisticated process that we use the engineering and the input of the driver according to the feel that he likes to come up with a situation that he's really responsive to, likes the feel of the steering wheel, and that's what we go with, the driver's input, and that's what Biffle's trying to achieve, a good feel in the steering wheel and a response with the race car.
Great explanation, Tim. For more information on spindles, log on to ESPN.com, search word Tech Center.
Okay, Tim just gave us a great explanation about suspension on these cars. And Andy, you probably know more than anybody. You are really involved in all this type of stuff. Everybody likes a different thing. And when we walk through the garage here, we see a lot of different things.
There's a lot of ways to make these cars handle. And it's all about the package. It's just how things work together. And those spindles are a big part of it.
Well, one of the guys who has a great spindle tonight and a great package, the 9 car. Casey Kane is just dominating the evening here. 312 laps.
Wednesday, go way behind the scenes of Talladega.
It's unbelievable. You know what I'm saying?
The biggest, fastest race in NASCAR, where it's all about horsepower, blistering speed, and staying in the race.
Johnny, you okay?
NASCAR in primetime, Wednesday at 9.
Very first time NASCAR's ever given any news organization uncensored access to its inner workings. That's a great show. ABC Primetime coming up 9 o'clock Eastern Time on Wednesday night. We welcome you back to the Sharpie 500. This aerial coverage from high above Bristol Motor Speedway, courtesy of our good friends at Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for the past 25 years.
Just had a swap for the second spot here. Carl Edwards in the 99 just passed the 8 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Dale Jr. was maneuvering around a lot of traffic out there. Got hung up behind Robbie Gordon in the 7 car. Carl Edwards used that to his advantage and got around him. But Carl's had a strong car throughout the night. I'd have to say, guys, these top 3 have been inseparable throughout the night. Been bumper to bumper.
Casey Kane's really working hard on Michael Waltrip, having a hard time getting by him, putting him another lap down, and it's let Carl Edwards catch right back up to the back bumper of Casey Kane.
Well, when these cars run side by side, it creates a lot of drag, aerodynamic drag. And if you're a single car behind these two, you'll run up on them pretty quick, like you see Carl Edwards doing now. I venture to say if Casey Kane can clear him, he'll start picking up speed and driving away again.
Gonna have to be patient, man. It looks like patience are running thin.
Casey Kane now with a 99 car of Carl Edwards chomping away behind him. Earnhardt Jr. right there behind Edwards, first, second, and third.
Well, Casey's probably getting frustrated with Michael Waltrip. Michael's 3 laps down, and he's really struggling because of that. And Casey's probably thinking, what in the world's going on? I'm leading this thing. Let me go. But, you know, these guys are all racers, and they want to race, and so they're not giving way to anybody right now.
These are the situations, though, that get these guys' tempers short, because Michael Waltrip is 2 laps down. This will put him 3 laps down if Casey can get by him. And now you see Carl Edwards driving the inside of Casey Kane.
You know, I was just looking at our monitor, showed him 3 laps down. Then he went back and it went back to 2 laps down. So you're right. Just a little bit, it's going to go back to 3.
More on Casey Kane, Dave?
Well, and Rusty, I was going to ask you as a driver, you may get 2 or 3 lines here at Bristol now in the corners, but what's the one line everybody wants down the straightaways? They want that outside line, right?
Well, yeah.
Michael Waltrip is on that all the way through.
We got action up front. The 99 car, the 55 and 9 got a little bit together. The 55 getting loose, and now the 9 can't get by. And you got to be getting frustrated if you're Casey Kane.
Well, you are, but back what Mike said, Dave said he's exactly right, because he's coming off the corner, and Casey wants to run out to the wall so he can hold the throttle wide open and keep the momentum going, and he can't do that quite yet.
I got a feeling Michael Waltrip's getting ready to get real loose, too, when Casey Kane gets to the back bumper.
Oh, yeah, first, second, third right on his bumper. So in fourth now, Kurt Busch coming in the picture.
Casey Kane now trying to get high. Michael Waltrip going to run the bottom of the racetrack. Kane had a pretty good lead, comfortable lead, and now he's in jeopardy of losing that lead. The 99 car of Edwards in second spot. Here comes Earnhardt Jr. to the outside of the 99.
Now you got to believe shortly here somebody's got to line up their front bumper to the rear bumper of Michael Waltrip and see how it works.
Edwards takes the lead in the inside of Casey Kane. Here comes Earnhardt Jr. He will split the difference and get in front of Kane for second spot.
Looks like here Kurt Busch just caught these guys too, so it's now a 4-car race.
Kurt Busch is going for these points. He wants to get locked in the top 12, and he's not letting any grass grow between him and the rest of them now.
Little contact with Michael. Looks like Carl Edwards didn't have the patience Casey Kane did.
You are the leader, buddy. Just be smooth now.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. now moving to the inside of the 55 car. He will try to get by. Now Casey Kane will be able to hopefully.
You know, I really don't know why Michael's doing that. You know, everybody likes Michael Waltrip, but these are the leaders. The top 4 cars, and Michael's just racing them like crazy. And finally, Edwards just had to root him out of the way.
I can understand if he's 1 lap down or maybe just going down the first lap, but being 2 and 3 laps down, I don't understand why he's racing these guys unless he's just trying to get a little camera time because he's a little frustrated this year and hadn't had the season that he's looking for. He knows he's racing around these leaders and the cameras are on him, so maybe that's what he's looking for.
Yeah, that could be. Michael's a good little driver, that's for sure. He's always been good with getting his sponsors all the ink he can, but he almost got himself stuck in a wall over that one. See some damage on the left rear of Michael's left rear quarter panel from that shot that Carl Edwards gave him.
Well, that shunt with Michael Waltrip cost Casey Kane the lead. He goes from first to third. And now Carl Edwards will reassume the lead. Only had 2 leaders all night long. Edwards is now being shown at the top of the field. He's led 3 times for 35 laps. An unseasonably calm night in Bristol, Tennessee. Don't normally see him like this. Laps winding down. Carl Edwards back up front where he was early on.
This telecast is available on ESPN HD, presented by DirecTV. Big weekend of racing Labor Day. Next week, we head to the California Speedway, where drivers take turn 1 at over 200 miles per hour. This 2-mile D-shaped oval super speedway is located 52 miles east of LA and 60 miles west of Palm Springs. And this is where Matt Kenseth shines. He took 2 of the last 3 Cup races there and has 4 California Busch wins. The NASCAR Busch Series at Fontana next Saturday, 9:45 p.m. Eastern, and the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series at Fontana, presented by Principal Financial, at 7 Eastern. And here in Tennessee, the car of tomorrow on a brand new concrete surface and configuration at Bristol at night. But a lot has been uncharacteristic. Brad, what jumps out at you first?
Well, the tremendous long green flag runs that we've watched tonight. You know, we just have not seen this over the years here at Bristol. And the thing I'm starting to watch for are some of the guys who ran in the Busch race last night, like Jeff Burton and Ryan Newman and Kyle Busch. We're going to see if these guys can, how fit they are running this race as well, because it's got to be a tremendous strain after running the race last night and having these long runs without any rest. So long green flag runs have been really, really impressive.
354 of 500 laps so far. What should we be looking for now?
Well, I think as these pit stops get ready to come up here, we're getting ready to have some slowing down the action. So whoever can get off pit road and keep their position without losing position, significant positions, has a good chance to go ahead and stay out front and possibly win this race.
So far tonight, it's been all about Casey Kane. The only other driver to even get close, Carl Edwards. Doc leads right now.
Carl Edwards, 1 win here in 2007.
2 more laps.
And pit stops becoming order of the day. Here's the 18 car of J.J. Yaley, who was running in 8th position on pit road. Dave.
Great run continues for J.J. Yaley. He said nothing on the radio since the last stop, so we'll take a peek and see if they go to any changes on the chassis, and they do not. They're going to just make any slight air pressure adjustment they have to, but Yaley driving a great race so far, worked his way all the way up into the top 10, just fell out of it just a few laps ago. Left side finishing up, and J.J. is on and off of pit road.
Right now, these cars got 18-gallon fuel cells. Our Andy Petrie just told me they can run about 135 laps, so it's going to be really tough for these guys to make it to the end, and pit stops are happening now.
99 on pit road. He jammed the brakes on and saw smoke billowing from the front of those tires as he got on the pit road. Now it's creeping down at 30 miles an hour. Dave.
One of the longest drives on pit road. Carl finally makes it into his pit stall. Tight in the center was the complaint that he had. They were going to make, looks like they're going to make just an air pressure adjustment on the 99. Allen.
During that entire green flag run from the last restart, Dale Jr. said nothing about his car. So far tonight, minimal changes to this 8 machine. It'll be a 4-tire stop and no noticeable changes to this 8 car once again.
wanted a track bar adjustment and an air pressure adjustment. Air pressure out of the right front. Tire specialist Kevin White giving them a right front tire that had just a little less air pressure in it. Car wants to turn a little bit better for Casey. They'll get on up pit road. It was under yellow before. Green flag stop. A good one, Mike.
Martin Truex Jr. all the way back into the top 10. Says it's a little bit snug in the center and loose off. A 4-tire change, a slight air pressure adjustment, and that's all for Martin Truex Jr. Very happy with his race car, and he's away. Dave.
Kurt Busch's car on pit road now. They will go to air pressure for Kurt as well. The car has been tight tonight. It's been loose tonight. They've got it back and forth in different directions. This last run, just a tick loose for Kurt, which isn't bad here at Bristol. 4-tire change being completed. He leaves pit road.
These should be the final pit stops. Here's the 07, Clint Boyer coming in, the 10 of Scott Briggs, and the 12 of Ryan Newman, who was the leader coming off the racetrack. Dave.
Just a few laps ago, Ryan radioed to crew chief Mike Nelson. A series of things tight off the corner was one of them that he wanted him to work on just a little bit. Chassis adjustment and air pressure adjustment for Ryan this time. This crew trying to get him into the chase by a good pit stop. Mike.
After the last adjustment on the 20 car, Tony Stewart complained they got him too tight in the center. They make another chassis adjustment and a 4-tire change this time.
The 5 car who won here in the spring is being shown as the leader. There comes the 24 car of Jeff Gordon to try to lead his first lap.
100 now, 3,900.
As Kyle Busch peels off to come down for his pit stop at 30 miles an hour. Seems like an eternity, Rusty, to be able to get down pit road when you're running 120 miles an hour. You just jam on the brakes at 30 and just creep along.
Oh, these guys are barely putting around and almost had damage with Kenny Wallace coming in. Kyle Busch did. Alan?
Little crossover there on pit road. Kyle Busch talked about his front tires chattering earlier tonight. They continue to make adjustments on this car and continue to work on it. They had moved up to the 11th spot just before the pit stop. It's a 4-tire change from the 5. We'll see if he lost a lot of ground because of that crossover on pit road. Dave?
The top seed for the chase right now, Jeff Gordon. He is locked in tonight. A race they wanted to win, or they didn't really care about anything else than that. They're trying to turn this car around right now. It is only tight for a fraction of a second in the middle of the corner. Otherwise, very loose. You see him going to the chassis adjustments through the back window. They'll make an air pressure adjustment as well. Crew chief Steve Letarte trying to bring this car around for Jeff Gordon.
15.1 seconds. Steve Letarte, you heard the adjustments there. 132 laps to go, and it shouldn't be a problem now to make it as far as fuel's concerned, Andy, but if you can hang on to those tires and be able to keep the car clean. One car spins around between turns 3 and 4. That is the 6th car of David Reagan, and that will bring out caution for the 4th time tonight.
I might need a bungee strap or something. This thing keeps popping out of gear for some reason.
That was a huge break for Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car. They're showing 3rd on the board right here. Had not made his stop yet. So this is going to be a huge break for Jimmy.
Johnson, remember, came in to pit road on that last yellow, came in the second time. He stayed back out on the racetrack here, had not come on the pit road.
And that bought him just enough laps to be able to stay out and take advantage of this caution.
So a great call by Chad Canals. You talked about it earlier, bringing him in, maybe giving him a chance where he hasn't run that well all night long.
Now, Andy, is he going to worry about running out of gas right now in these high banks? He's got to be really low in fuel. I think he'd have to probably get down on the apron, or else his 48 just might run out of fuel.
I think he's okay because he did make a pit stop after these guys did under caution. He's got a few extra laps. Here's the 7 car. He's also a guy that benefits from this.
Robbie Gordon led last week at Michigan. He leads again here tonight at Bristol, Tennessee. He comes on the pit road. Jimmy Johnson following him down.
Also the 41 car of Reed Sorensen. He had not made his green flag stop yet either. It's a big break for these guys.
Long way around. And by the way, the 1 car, Martin Truex Jr., will get the free pass. He will get back on the lead lap and now put 16 cars back on the lead lap here in the final 130 laps.
Take a look at the right front tire changer on Robbie Gordon's got a light on his helmet. Really got those lug nuts lit up. Look how luminant that is. That's something.
That helps a ton. These night races are so hard for these tire changers to be able to see those lug nuts. I've been a front tire changer. I know how hard that is to see these lugs. That's a great idea.
Jimmy Johnson getting his service.
Go. Clear out to the wall. Good job, guys. Good job.
For more information on pit stops, log on to ESPN.com. Search word know-how. Crew camera for the jack man for Jeff Gordon. Jeff Cookie Cook out of Mallard Creek, North Carolina. Got to heave that big 24 car in the air with that jack. Gets it around to the left side. Gets the jack down and the car in the air. Great pit work. Jeff Gordon back out on the racetrack. Five drivers trying to work their way into the top 12 here in the chase of the Nextel Cup. The race to the chase winding down. It all begins tonight here in Bristol, Tennessee. In fact, it only has 125 laps tonight here in Bristol, Tennessee, as we head to California and in Richmond, and the race to the chase will be over. A lot of anxious drivers and nervous people. This guy's not too anxious. Carl Edwards sitting out front right now for the fourth time tonight. The 99 car being shown as the leader.
I tell you, the guy I'm really concerned about for himself right now, Jerry, is the 29 car, Kevin Harvick. He's all the way down to 12th in the points right now. He took a huge hit, and it all goes back to Watkins Glen with the problem he had there. Lost a lot of points, but now his car's not handling good tonight, and he is in trouble right now. He's tied for 13th right now with Dale Earnhardt Jr. No, he's not tied. I'm sorry. He's in 12th, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. is 13th behind him. So Kevin's the one in trouble right now.
There's Kevin Harvick in 12th. He finished 36th at Watkins Glen. We showed you the run-in with Juan Pablo Montoya. That cost him a couple of spots. And now with this run tonight, with the struggles tonight, Andy, he is down there toward the back in 12th position. Restart in Bristol, Tennessee. Edwards will lead him down. Tony Stewart getting back in the hunt here with the 20 car. They made some adjustments on that pit stop, and now he's going to maybe a factor here in the final laps. He said he was way too tight, Mike, prior to that stop.
And Doc, they made a track bar adjustment and an air pressure adjustment, and they feel like they've got a pretty good race car here for the stretch run. Greg Zipagnelli telling Tony Stewart just a while ago that we've got a tremendous car on long runs. The thing we really need to improve on is the first 4 or 5 laps. They're having some difficulty taking off, but right now they're back in the hunt.
Tell you what, I was looking at some of these cars. They're really running low air pressures, and you can see the sidewalls and a lot of these cars flexing out, in particularly the 16 car, Greg Biffle. He's had a pretty good handling car throughout the night. They're definitely trying something, but Tony Stewart's got a good run, and he's getting blocked right now by the Greg Biffle car.
Let's ride along with our Wrangler telemetry. Take a look at Tony Stewart's car here. Watch the RPM gauge and the miles per hour here on a half-mile racetrack.
$8,900 RPMs out of these engines we're seeing right now. When they qualify, probably close to about 9,500 RPMs and full speed. And qualifying, you lose how much, Andy, in these races, you think?
Well, it looks like they're dropping down quite a bit, but they can turn about 9,500 RPMs. But these cars are running a lot slower now in race trim than they were in qualifying trim.
43 of Bobby Labonte, Dale Earnhardt Jr. They battle for the 6th position. As Labonte has taken that spot away from Earnhardt Jr. and now sets this. That's Bobby Labonte having a really good run here tonight.
Yeah, Bobby's being solid as a rock throughout the night. He hasn't had any problem at all. It's been pretty clean and good runs throughout the night.
Now, a moment ago, the 8 car got a little bit of tap from behind by the 12 car, and it cost him. Whoa, he just managed to hang on, but that could have been very costly. That's bump and run, I guess, and that allowed the 43 car to make the move by.
Yeah, that was a close call for the 8 car.
Yeah, they run up and all.
If he'd hit that wall.
They run up in all that traffic, and looks like the 8 car just got held up, and the 12 car, he was just still in the throttle and got him in the quarter panel. But hey, you're right, that could have been big because he had the rear end on that car hung out going at the wall.
This is 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Clint Boyer, the 07, being shown in 3rd. Kurt Busch, the 2 car, was 4th. You see Jeff Gordon in the 24 car.
Yeah, Jeff Burton and Jeff Gordon are 1 lap down. You see Kurt Busch, he's the lead lap car.
For more on Jeff Gordon, let's check in with Dave.
Man, it's kind of one of those things that's hard to figure out on a short track like this, but Jeff Gordon was one of the later cars to pit, and he was in the bottom part of the top 10. So other cars, including leader Carl Edwards, pitted earlier and were running running faster. So when the yellow came out for David Reagan's spin, Jeff had been trapped a lap down.
Okay, Jeff Gordon better be happy he's locked in a chase for the championship, because he's going on 3 bad races in a row right now. Bad luck. You look at Watkins Glen, wheel hopped the car, went off course, and last week spun off a turn 4. And now he's a lap down because of this unscheduled. It was a scheduled stop, but just bad luck on the stop with the caution flag coming out when it did.
You're speaking of the caution flag. It came out for the 4th time today, and the reason it came out was because the 6th car of David Reagan had a problem with the shifter. He said it was popping out of gear.
Right here's the shift handle in the car. And you see it staying down in high gear. That's what these guys run in. They run in 4th gear. And Tim Brewer, can you tell us a little bit more about what's happening with this 6 car?
Yeah, what happened, Andy, when a thing popped out of gear, the driver, he gets on there and he said, hey, I got to have a bungee cord. But, Andy, as we learned at Junior Johnson's, the first thing you do is put some stuff in the car that the driver don't have to ask for. You simply reach over, get that bungee cord, put it on there, and keep on trucking. That's something that the driver can do himself. You know, you need to be aware of it, but still yet, it needs to be installed in the car. COT car, old car. That's just old school racing.
Yeah, that'll hold her in there, Tim.
For more information on gear shifts, log on to ESPN.com, search word Auto Tech. All this modern technology, we use a bungee cord to hold these race cars and these shifters in position.
Well, take a look at the shifter right there, how much it's vibrating. Let's ride along just a little bit longer, Andy, and look how hard that thing's vibrating. And it's probably just vibrating itself out of gear. The Roush cars, the 6 and the 17, are having these 2 problems. And now you see Carl Edwards with all this. Something's going on there, I would think.
He's got a high-speed vibration in the car, maybe in the drive shaft, or maybe even in the transmission itself that's causing that vibration there.
Moving in on 100 laps to go here at Bristol, Tennessee. Carl Edwards being shown as a leader in the 99 car. Kane Boyer, Kurt Busch, and Earnhardt Jr. in the top 5. Back in Bristol, Tennessee, caution number 5 coming out on lap 395. The 6 car of David Reagan again. The car looping around down between turns 3 and 4.
Must have had some more problems with that transmission jumping out of gear.
From the 55 car on board for Michael Walker. Take a look at what happened up there in the 6 for Reagan.
The car just turned around, looked like for no reason.
Guys, I don't know, just bungee cords. The hooks fell off or something.
The hook fell off the bungee. I tell you, that's not your day when the hook on a bungee cord flies off. I mean, you got Brewer showed us the bungee cord, but I think Tim probably meant that if you're going to use a bungee cord, it better be a good grade one. This looks like this bungee cord broke, and they're back in it, putting another one in right now.
While we are under caution for the 5th time, let's check in with our in-race reporter, Carl Edwards, who happens to be our leader.
Carl Edwards, Rusty Wallace, and ESPN. You got us?
Loud and clear, Rusty.
Carl, you're having a great night tonight. The car looks fantastic out there, high, low, all over the track. But, hey, where's your favorite lane out there? You've had enough now to figure out where you like to run at.
I don't know. It kind of depends on the run. It seems like at the beginning of the run you can run anywhere. And late in the run you can run anywhere. So, I don't know. Just listening to Bob read my lap times, and it seems like every once in a while I'll be fast on the bottom, and some laps I can be faster running up high. It's a pretty fun racetrack.
Carl, how you like the car tomorrow here on this racetrack? What's the driver feedback's probably something everybody like to hear about this car.
Actually, this car drives pretty well here. I'm pretty impressed with it. Every time we go out, you know, our cars tomorrow get better and better. So, you know, I'm excited about it. I'm really enjoying it. I never thought I'd enjoy it this much. Not when we ran that first race. I was worried, but I feel good about it now.
All right, Carl. Thanks for talking to us, buddy.
Thanks, Rusty.
This is the 10th race of the year for the car of tomorrow. It will run next at Richmond International Raceway. They will run a total of 16 events here in 2007. Under caution for the 5th time. If you're leading and you're bored, you just go up and say, oh, hello, Mr. Pace Car. Back in a moment. Just back to green flag racing here in Bristol, Tennessee. Less than 100 laps to go here in our 500 lap NASCAR Nextel Cup event presented by Pennzoil. Carl Edwards trying to pick up his second win of 2007. Tony Stewart, who has not been much of a factor most of the night because his car has been way too tight in the middle of the corner. They worked on that car. You heard our pit reporters Mike Massaro tell you they've got the car adjusted, and Stewart and the one car, Martin Truex, are trying to make their move toward the front.
Tell you, another car that came in that last pit stop and put tires on was a 48 car, a Jimmy Johnson. And that's probably a pretty good move because he was back in an area where he could put tires in that thing, and he's working the top groove pretty hard right now. And I got to believe these new tires are going to help him late in this run.
Got a huge break when they had that caution and they hadn't made their green flag pit stop, and he's making the most of it here.
It's hard to make do what he wants to do, because he's got the 22 car, Blaney in front of him. He just can't get that clean air. And now Juan Pablo Montoya pulls up in front of him, blocks him in there. And when you have new tires and you can't use it to your advantage because you're blocked in, it'll wear those tires down, and then you can't, then they're just not as sticky then.
Heavy traffic here. These guys that came in and took tires there just a moment ago. And in traffic, I mean, anything can happen. Watch the 48 car, Jimmy Johnson. 38, I'm sorry, behind him, that David Gilliland.
Robbie Gordon got in the back of David Gilliland in the 30 car, turned to 38, turned him dead sideways, but he held on. And Andy, these car tomorrows, I got to believe that wing is really working good on him, because David had that car pretty sideways and still held on.
These cars are very forgiving, it seems like. In this race, this new surface here, too, I believe is very forgiving for these cars.
Well, when we talked to Carl Edwards, our in-race reporter, just a little while ago, he was pretty impressed with the car. He said he likes driving it and pretty happy. Now, you heard Kyle Busch, when he won this year, hated the car. Didn't like it at all, even though he won.
Carl Edwards, our leader here, with just 90 laps to go in the 99 car. Edwards has led 4 times for 93 laps. And let's check this action back here. The 24 car, who was the Lucky Dog Award winner, he got back on the lead lap. Little pushing and shoving back here in the pack.
Let's take a look at what just happened here. 66 gets in the back of the 38, gets him sideways again. He bounces off him, hits him again. Now Jeff Gordon almost gets a little bit of that. And Jeff picks the throttle up and drives around the 38. And he's got more momentum exiting the corner than David Gilliland does at the moment, so that helped out.
It's like David Gilliland's just getting pushed and shoved all over the racetrack.
Edwards, Kane in second spot, Boyer, Kurt Busch, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. back in the 5th position. Let's listen to his radio.
Will you quit trying to get me to cheat out of my box and into my box? I ain't doing this ever, no matter what. So quit getting in my ear about it.
That's just a big advantage. That's why I'm in your ear about it, because if you use it right, then that's how you get feed in and out on pit road a lot of times. So trying to get you to be aware of it, use it when you can.
Yeah, well, if you got your sleeve, you need to share it with everybody instead of yourself.
Well, the one thing about that, he's trying to get some more speed coming at the box and leaving the box. What Dale Jr. is worried about, if he does that, he might get a pit road speeding penalty. Now, and Tony Eury Jr. said if you use it right. But Andy, if you use it wrong,
well, you can get a speeding penalty if you use it wrong. But what Tony Eury Jr. is saying is this is the way to make some time, because when you're inside your pit box, if that segment that your pit box is in, you can actually speed out of there until you get to the line, because they're only measuring between the segments. And so if your pit box is in between those segments, you can actually speed to the next one and then get on your pit road speed.
That is Tony Eury Jr., who's not only the crew chief but also Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s cousin, and they played together growing up. They've been together for their entire lives, so they can talk to each other like that very openly and very frankly.
Well, one thing the crew chief's job, one job of the crew chief is to find those loopholes and try to find any little way to get an advantage. And that's just a small advantage on pit road, but we're really talking about split seconds on pit road that can get you quite a few spots here.
That 2 car and 8 car, that can't get away from each other. The battle of the beer cars, it continues here at Bristol.
These were the guys we were watching for that elusive 12th position, and right now the 2 car would be up in 11th. The 40 car of David Stremme, one of those guys that came in and took fresh tires here on lap 398. He just had a little brush with the outside concrete. Caution now being shown, the 6 car of David Reagan. as car loops down in turn 1. So Reagan brings out the caution again here, this time for the 6th time tonight.
They're going to have to work on the car this time. They've got some damage on the right front. Evidently, whatever's causing these spins is, jumped out there and got them again.
For the truck. Put it in the truck.
They've had enough.
Yeah, this car kept popping out of gear throughout the night, and every time it pops out of the car,
I can't tell you for sure, Jimmy. I don't think so.
Tough break for the rookie David Reagan. He goes back behind the wall. Leaders staying out. 79 laps to go here at Bristol under caution for the 6th time.
Back at Thunder Valley under the lights on a Saturday night, and Casey Kane going a long way to get a disappointing season back on track. Let's take a look in the McDonald's race rundown. He started from the pole and showing some great skills tonight. A caution, Johnny Sauter getting in front of him. Great job getting around him.
He did a wonderful job. You know, they had the longest run without a caution first part of this race. They ran 74 laps previously, but he did a great job getting out front early.
And night ended early for Denny Hamlin, lap 211. He knew it was coming, the blown engine.
Yeah, they lost the motor. He felt it coming, but like I say, only the 2nd one of the year. He's done a great job. He's still mired deep in this point chase. Bad night, but he'll make up for it.
And the king of concrete is leading the way right now. Carl Edwards has led the 2nd most laps. Now, we know he's won 4 or 5 Busch Series races on concrete this year, but how about a cup race?
He has been very impressive tonight. He's got a strong hot rod, and he's marched that thing to the front, and he's going to be difficult to get around.
Doc Roush Racing has been dominant at Bristol. Carl Edwards can lead the way tonight.
Exactly, Susie. Matt Kenseth won here last August. Matt Kenseth won here the August before that. He's won the last 2 in a row. And it could be Roush Fenway 3 in a row if Carl Edwards can hang on here tonight. There have been 12 lead changes among 8 different drivers. Carl Edwards has now led 4 times for 108 laps. Our camera on the Chevrolet pace car looking back at Carl Edwards. There's the 42 car of Juan Pablo Montoya on the inside. He is the car 1 lap down.
73 laps to go. 73. Green flag, green flag. Clear low, clear low. Yeah, back. You're good. Still outside. 3 back. Still outside. Inside, Jim. Still out there. You pulled away from it. Outside. The A back. No hole outside. Made a bit on the outside, didn't make it. You're following you, clear by half.
Really good run tonight for the 07. Clint Boyer trying to get his best ever finish at Bristol, Tennessee, being shown back in the 3rd position. On that last caution flag on lap 421, we had a number of cars come on the pit road. Both the 48 and 24, Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon pitted. Robbie Gordon came in, Reed Sorensen came in, guys, and they put some fresh tires on.
Well, yeah, why not? I mean, these guys are at the tail end of the lead lap. It'd be a good time to kind of reset and get these guys some fresh tires and see what they can do, put them on offense.
Take a look at the battle for 8th place right now. Martin Truex working the top side of Bobby Labonte. But these are 2 cars that have been really strong throughout the night. And it's probably going to be hard for each one to clear each other because they've been so strong. Guys, I got to believe with 68 laps to go, tensions are going to get high, drivers are going to get nervous, and caution flags are going to fly. I don't think we've seen the last one right now. Back in the pack, they're running awful tight. They're all starting to get a little nervous now. They're running out of time.
Veteran Bobby Labonte making his 30th career start here at Bristol Motor Speedway. Back in 1993, made his first start. Best finish was 3rd here. Carl Edwards trying to hold on here for the final 66 laps. Let's listen in.
Said you wanted me to start taking risks, old boy.
I hear you, buddy. This is fun, isn't it, Bob?
It's fun for me. Today, I got this guy with the hat next to me. Tuesday might not be so fun.
I think he's talking about Jack Roush.
Yeah, Jack Roush comes to Concord, North Carolina. Every Tuesday they have the team meetings, and that's what he was referring to. Bob was, hey, it might not be so fun on Tuesday when Bob shows up. So
it's going to be fun if they keep it up here.
Yep.
Roush Fenway drivers are running order. They got Edwards, Biffle in the top 10, Kenseth, McMurray, and David Reagan, who's had his troubles with the shifter back in 40th spot. Just that quickly, we're under caution once again. The 7 car, Robbie Gordon, had troubles coming off of turn 2 and spun it, and he got it righted, but...
Call, but 17 head us. You're behind the 25. Get in front of that 36.
Rusty called it. He said that the caution flags were going to fly, and here's another one.
Well, Andy, it's you know, it's not that I called. It's that you could look out the window and see them all getting kind of crazy out there. Robbie Gordon comes across actually in front of Matt Kenseth, and that was kind of his fault. Robbie's was. He just kind of run out of room, but you can tell these guys are running out of time right now. Tensions are getting high, and they want to get the best finishing positions they possibly can.
Yeah, it looked like Robbie Gordon just changed lanes, turned left on Matt Kenseth.
Easy, come on, come on, come on. Come on, good job, good job. Caution's out.
Michael Waltrip, watch him try to snake his way through.
Hold up. Go straight, go straight. Keep coming, go straight, go straight. There you go. Caution's out.
Well, I tell you, Robbie Gordon did a great job holding on to that car. We all know he's one of the best drivers out there, and guy can drive anything. Watch this right here. He spins this thing, goes to the bottom, holds on to it, stays in the throttle. Now he holds the brakes. He locks the brakes down. See the tires locked up? That's what saves you right there.
Caution for the 7th time to go. We're back with 60 laps to go in just a moment. Finishing up caution number 7 on the night, we welcome you back to the Sharpie 500 Bristol Motor Speedway. Just 58 laps to go. It has been a fairly clean race, but it could get hot and heavy here in the last 50 laps, Rusty. Everyone anticipating we may see some action and maybe a little bumper tag here.
Well, right now the tensions are sky high. These guys are not in the mood to play nice right now, and they're all over the throttle. And, you know, I was talking earlier about I don't think these cautions are over. Here we go.
Can Carl Edwards hang on? Casey Kane has led 305 laps and has not had a top 5 in 2007. He's hungry.
Well, I tell you, Carl Edwards, he looks like he was shot out of a cannon right there. He had to get ahead of those lap cars to get a clean run, and he did that. But Casey Kane followed him right through, and he's got a good run going too.
Yeah, it's the first really good restart now that Casey's got in the last 2 or 3. He didn't let Carl get too far out there.
Laps winding around. Remember, across the top of your screen, the ticker shows the cars in green. The numbers are in the chase right now. The ones in yellow are on the bubble. You can watch how your driver move in, maybe move in or out, or how close they can possibly get here.
Carl's running some of the fastest laps of the night here. Late in the race, he's running 1660s, which is about a second faster than these guys can run on old tires deep in a run.
We talked earlier about how Tony Stewart had not been a factor. They've been working on the car. Greg Zipadelli and company getting the car to finally turn in the middle of the corner, and he is trying to turn around the outside of the 22 car of Dave Blaney, being shown in 7th position. Mike?
And Doc, I had a conversation with Greg Zipadelli this morning, and he described this weekend as, quote, stressful. The reason being they came here with their setup from the spring, and it just did not respond at all with the new configuration of this racetrack. Another thing Tony struggled with was the hard left side tire. They couldn't get him comfortable with it, but after all the work they've done on that car tonight, it seems like it's working.
One thing I've noticed about Tony Stewart, if it's got 4 tires on it, he'll figure out a way to get it around the racetrack.
Okay, you really got to handle the Goodyear. You know, we talked about how hard the tire is, but I've been watching the lap times, and these tires have just not fell off whatsoever. They've been real durable. They've been consistent. And the drivers that put 4 tires on it picks them up for about 10 laps, like we talked earlier in our broadcast. That's about it on speed. Then they level out. But Jerry, we've been watching the lap timers here, and the top 20 cars almost the same speed.
Very close up front. Here's some contact on the racetrack. The 29 and 43 getting together. 43 of Bobby Labonte in 8th spot. The 29 of Harvick. He is the first car at lap down in 21st position.
Kevin Harvick's racing that 10 car to stay on that.
Trouble in turn 1. One car goes up across the wall, slams hard. Jimmy Johnson is into the car.
And we're torn up.
Ricky Rudd.
If you can, get it fired up. Come back around if you can.
See, Ricky's car's torn up.
So we can limp around here.
That 48 car got some pretty good damage in that too, Jimmy Johnson.
See if you can drive it there.
There's the Jimmy Johnson car. He was involved. He was behind the accident when the cars went up into the wall. He had nowhere to go. He got hit from the front and the side.
It's not as bad as it looked. It looked like he hit pretty hard. These cars are tough. Seems like these new cars are really durable.
And that rear wing on the back of Ricky Rudd's car, that's not on too good. Let's take a look at this replay. Ricky Rudd gets loose going at the corner. We saw that in the Busch race yesterday. A lot of problems with that happening. And nowhere to go. And you know, that's a hard hit with Jimmy Johnson, but the car doesn't look that tore up in the back of it. These things are, man, are like army tanks.
Oh, it got some help. Ricky Rudd got some help from the one car, it looks like.
Yeah, that different angle showed that. That's good. Let's watch Jimmy. He got hit in the back from Matt Kenseth.
It's on the left.
All right, from Jeff Burton's onboard camera, let's look ahead.
6 low on the ball. Stay in front of. He's up high. He's up high. Easy. Easy. Come on, come on, come on. Great job, boss. Great job.
Different angle.
Yeah, Martin Truex got in the back of Ricky Rudd pretty hard early in the corner.
It's like he just punted him in there.
Juan Pablo Montoya gets damaged. 17 car Matt Kenseth. Ricky Rudd, a lot of them. A lot of damage in this accident right here.
Here's the impact. Jimmy Johnson in there. The 17 car had nowhere to go. There's Montoya coming down. Gilliland involved. Somehow Jeff Burton able to snake his way through. Caution for the 8-time Ricky Rudd making his 58th start at Bristol. His 899th career start. And a piece off of the 24 car now laying on the racetrack for Jeff Gordon.
He lost the whole back end of the car here. Looks like it got knocked loose in this with his contact. And it looks like Michael's helping him get rid of this.
Michael helped cleaning some debris off the back of the 24 car. Back with the green in a moment. We welcome you back to our NASCAR Nextel Cup Series at Bristol, presented by Pennzoil. Aerial coverage courtesy of our good friends at Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR, helping NASCAR drivers get to the finish line for the past 25 years. Now, one of the classic moves here at Bristol, notably in the late laps, is called the bump and run.
I think the bump and run is fair. I think that's racing. That's the way it is at Bristol. As tough as it is to pass there, if you're a lot faster and you get in front of him and drive away from him.
One thing is moving people to give yourself a bit of room. The other thing is actually hitting somebody up the road. I think it's two different things.
Not to the point of wrecking anyone, but just moving them aside and making a path for yourself has become a necessity.
Obviously, there's a fine line there. I mean, if you bump and wreck somebody, it's not good.
At Bristol, it's fair, but it's short track racing. That's just what it is.
Working on the 88 car, who's gotten one bump and didn't get to run anywhere. He had to run on the pit road and get some of the sheet metal peeled away. Heavy contact. Will we see bump and run in the final 40 laps for the win? We'll find out in just a moment when we come back to Bristol. Just 39 laps to go here at Bristol, Tennessee. The question is, will we finally see the bump and run here in the final laps? We saw some bumping in the final laps of the NASCAR Busch Series race here last night, which affected the outcome. Carl Edwards trying to hold them off. They come down to the green flag. Edwards by 8 car lengths over Casey Kane, in front of Clint Boyer by another 4 car lengths. One of the drivers everyone thought would be a factor tonight is the guy who won in here last August, Matt Kenseth. Hold on one second here. Debris on the racetrack off of one of the cars, as they slow him down for caution. Let's check in with Jamie, who's caught up with Matt Kenseth.
And Matt Kenseth won this race the last 2 years in a row, finished in the top 10 9 out of 10 times here. Matt, the good news is you're locked into the chase now, but the bad news, you're done for the night. What happened?
There was a wreck in front of me. I saw it. I just couldn't get slowed down. I was on a brake as hard as I could. I just couldn't get it to stop. But we had a terrible weekend this weekend. We really didn't finish either race, and we ran really terrible. We just couldn't get our dual fusion to turn. So obviously Carl's is turning good, so we gotta go back and look at that and get our stuff better, because I can't keep up at all.
Well, an uncharacteristic early exit from Matt Kenseth, guys.
Yeah, 8 top 10 finishes here in the last few years, including 2 wins in that 17 car, but he calls it a night here with just 40 laps to go. Back with the restart at Bristol in just a moment.
Yeah, welcome back. Now it's becoming a little bit more like the Bristol that we know under our 9th caution with just 32 laps to go. Immediately after the race, Sports Center, John Anderson, John Buchagras standing by. We'll have the winner interview with the race winner here, and coast-to-coast NFL action from the preseason. Little League World Series wrapping up this weekend, a walk-off grand slam. Brad, just 32 laps to go. What are we thinking?
I'll tell you what, dig into that couch, sports fans. It's getting ready to get interesting. I'll tell you, Carl Edwards has done a great job. He's making that car real wide. It's going to be difficult to get around, but it's going to be fast and furious.
I'm looking forward to the bump and run, Doc.
Can Carl Edwards hold on the final 32 laps? We've seen things get wild and crazy. Rusty, you were part of the wildness and craziness over the years. You've benefited. You've also been the victim of the bump and run.
Oh, I've got the bump and run twice going into turn 3 with the checkered flag waving, and it's cost me the wins, and I finished second in both of those races because of that. But right now the tension, like I said earlier, is really getting high. 30 laps to go. And Casey Kane is trying to run down the 99 of Carl Edwards, and in both restarts, he's had great restarts, but Carl's just had a little better.
Yeah, Carl's car just gets going on that first 1 or 2 laps on the restart and just pulls out away from the 9 car, Casey Kane. He just can't seem to get up on that bumper.
Carl's been having a lot of confidence on his restarts, so much we heard him earlier talk about how fun it is to drive right now. And this year he has won almost all the tracks on concrete. It's really, him and his team have really figured out what they need on these concrete racetracks.
One thing that can really mix this deal up, though, is if they catch the tail end of this field and start getting back into that lap traffic like we saw earlier, and that can kind of get all these guys seized up, and no telling what you'll see then.
Carl Edwards looking back at Casey Kane. Edwards broke that 52 race winless streak at Michigan back in June. Now Casey Kane there in the 9 car has a 28 race winless streak, and he hasn't won since October of last year at Lowe's Motor Speedway. But the 99 Dave is the guy to beat right now.
And Doc, just to add on this discussion, crew chief Bob Osborne, one of the things he told me today when I was checking in with him about this race was that there isn't a standout car this weekend, and you guys just talked about if Carl gets into traffic. Bob knows that the 99 car is a little better, but that a lot of other cars, including the 9, have been its equal this weekend, and that traffic could really make the difference. As long as Carl has clean air, he's in good shape.
Now these cautions have been playing into Carl's hands because he gets these short runs. He can pull out ahead of Casey Kane, but then if they catch these lap cars, though, it's going to mix it up.
Real good battle here for the 8th position, Bobby Labonte and Kyle Busch. And here's a good side-by-side battle.
Now here's one guy that really didn't want the caution flags because, gee, he gets some momentum, he gets past in some cars, and this is Tony Stewart I'm talking about. And now he's trying to overhaul Ryan Newman. Tony wants his thing to run out for a little bit so he can start getting his car running faster and start catching these guys. We got action everywhere right now. The 5 car of Kyle Busch under the 43 of Bobby Labonte, bumping and banging and coming down the front straightaway.
Yeah, it's 8th and 9th on the left of your screen. On the right of your screen, the battle of 12 and 20. That's for 6th position.
Looks like this high line is definitely the preferred groove. These guys on the bottom are getting frustrated, though. You see Tony Stewart now trying to get clear, and he can't get clear of that 12.
More on Kyle Busch. Alan?
Yeah, it's really quite a rally for this 5-team, Doc. They pitted just before that caution flag waved a little bit earlier at lap 369 and got trapped at the tail end of the lead lap. That meant they were just in front of the leaders. They stayed on the racetrack, stayed in front of the leaders, got another caution, came around, rejoined the end of the field, stayed out again twice more to get their track position back in the top 10. This could lock Kyle Busch's place in the chase, perhaps tonight.
Great run for 2 nights in a row by the 5 car of Kyle Busch. How about Kevin Harvick, the 29 car, back on the lead lap? He was a lucky dog, now being shown in 18th position and moving in on his buddy, Juan Pablo Montoya.
Kevin can't do anything stupid right here, though, because he's sitting right there as they run. He's sitting in 12th spot in the points.
You know, the thing I think that's so amazing, why are the fellas that always have problems together find themselves running side by side? This is a big racetrack. I mean, you would think one of them would be at the other end of the track, but they're side by side. Juan Pablo Montoya and Harvick, 2 guys we talked about for the last couple of weeks who just don't like each other.
Can cooler heads prevail here in the final 17 laps at Bristol, which is very atypical for what happens here in the final laps at Bristol. Whoops, almost some contact there.
I wouldn't want to stick my finger between that right front fender and that left rear quarter panel. It might get ripped off. That thing's awful close right now. Kevin Harvick's just been toying with him. He's kind of like, I got him in my gun sights. If I want him, I'm going to get him. But I'm going to stay patient right now.
That's 17th, 18th, 19th is Jeff Gordon. He wiggles a little bit on the lead lap.
And Andy, you got to believe with the rear bumper missing on the 24 car, that's probably not going to hurt him a lot, but the back of that right rear quarter panel's bent in, and that creates downforce. He's probably loose now.
It's probably not going to hurt him too much, though, being as we're on a short track like this. Doesn't seem like the aerodynamics will really kill you at a place like this.
31 car trying to make a move. Jeff Burton, who was a lucky dog 2 cautions ago. Now he is up in 14th position and racing Robbie Gordon for 13th spot. We talked about how impressive Juan Pablo Montoya was in qualifying, starting on the outside front row, and how well he has run on a very tough high bank short track like Bristol, doing a heck of a job against a veteran short track racer like Kevin Harvick.
He's done a great job throughout the night. You know, Chip Ganassi and Felix Sabates brought this fella over to run their stock cars, and I got to believe that he's exceeded everybody's expectations.
He's doing a great job here, and he doesn't have as much to lose as Kevin Harvick. So if I was Kevin, I'd just be playing it cool around him right here.
Yeah, those 2 have stayed away. I know we've talked a lot about it, but, you know, they've been pretty good to each other throughout the night. Montoya just barely touched the wall a little bit, but, you know, one thing I've noticed, these cars are like bulldozers. You just can't hurt these things.
10 laps to go at Bristol Motor Speedway. Carl Edwards is the leader by 1.4 seconds over the Dodge of Casey Kane. Clint Boyer is 3rd, Kurt Busch back in 4th, and Tony Stewart now all the way in the top 5.
Boy, Carl Edwards has just really checked out on Casey Kane. And early in the race, Casey just led more laps. He's probably led all year long here tonight. Had a strong car. Watch the 42 exit here. Into the wall just a little bit. Barely scraped it. Not enough to hurt the car.
I don't even think it slowed him down.
I don't think it did either. He's got some right front damage from that last caution, that wreck he had. The one with Jimmy Johnson's valve. But look at Tony Stewart.
It's a great battle for 4th. 7 laps to go. Tony's going to try to get all we can get right here.
Boy, Tony's car has really come to life here in the final 75 laps after really struggling back at about 20th spot the first 150 laps tonight.
It's a battle for 4th place right now, and Tony Stewart just got it from Kurt Busch. I thought Kurt was a little loose getting off the corner off of turn 4 on that last run just then.
Here's Dale Earnhardt Jr. Now remember, he's trying to get in the chase, and he needs to get by as many people as he can and try to get as many spots, particularly this guy here, the 2 car.
It looks like that Kurt Busch is struggling just a little bit right here late, but he's not gonna push it too much. Well, it's just like when I say that, they make contact. Both of these guys have a lot to lose here.
Back up front, Carl Edwards trying to pick up his 2nd win in 2007. The 99 car. There's traffic ahead now in the final laps. We saw last night that Jeff Burton early on, even with the best car, could be taken out when things happen here on the racetrack.
Yeah.
Edwards trying to work slower traffic.
Absolutely. You know, on the Busch race, Jeff Burton went to the top side of Eric McClure, remember, and the right front tire blew out, so anything can happen. Carl's working this thing really easy. We've got 3 laps to go. He can see the checkered flag here shortly if he keeps his fenders clean. He's running up on traffic right now, though.
3.5, I just be easy, nice and smooth. Coming to the white flag, buddy. Coming to the white. He's still 15 car lengths back.
Bobby Hudson, the spotter for Carl Edwards, up on the roof, just walking him through these last couple of laps.
Carl Edwards could lock himself into the chase for the Nextel Cup if he hangs on and wins it tonight. It would be his second win in 2007. And Carl Edwards will come down and take the checkered flag out of turn 4 as a winner in Bristol, Tennessee. The 7 car spins around. Robbie Gordon is here on the final lap. There's contact. Casey Kane will finish second. Great run for Clint Boyer in third. Tony Stewart all the way up to 4th position, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. rounds out the top 5. And there's Robbie Gordon, the car that had the contact on the final lap. Let's show you what happened to Robbie here just a moment ago.
'29 car, Kevin Harvick gave him just a little bit of help, and again, Robbie holds on to it. He has got incredible car control, guys, and he did a good job saving that thing again. But what about Carl Edwards, our in-race reporter? Brought it home tonight. A domineering performance throughout the night. Great run.
He loves his concrete.
He does, Andy. He's won about all the concrete races right now, and gotta love it.
All right, here comes the signature somersault. The fans love it. Carl Edwards on the door, watching backwards. Jamie's down with crew chief Bob Osborne.
Bob, Carl said the first time you guys raced here, he was worried about this COT. How did you get it figured out and bring it home to victory here tonight?
Well, I gotta thank our engineering department and Ford Engineering. They put a lot of effort into this racetrack, coming up with an entirely new package for us. And it worked great right off the truck. We're really happy with it. I can't say enough about our engineering department, how much they've turned this COT car around for us.
Well, you heard Carl come over the radio and say this is the biggest win of his career. Guys, I can't wait to go to victory lane and hear what he has to say.
Jamie, the very first car of tomorrow win for Ford. It is the 8th career win, or 6th career victory, pardon me, for Carl Edwards. The young man from the Show Me State. He's from Columbia, Missouri, and boy, did he show him tonight. By Pennzoil. Not just oil, Pennzoil. By Toyota, moving forward. By Lowe's, for all your home improvement needs, Lowe's, let's build something together. And by Sprint, featuring NASCAR Nextel Cup Series updates at Sprint Speed. Sports Center coming up next. You'll be able to hear from several of the drivers who competed here tonight. And talking about competing here tonight, what about a Sports Center highlight for this man? Carl Edwards picking up his second win of the year and first ever in a Nextel Cup car at Bristol Motor Speedway. Let's go down to Dave.
And Carl jumps off the car for the second time tonight. The first time was a traditional backflip. Well landed again, my friend, but looked like tonight you just had him covered.
Man, this is the biggest win of my career. I cannot thank Bob Osborne enough and all my guys. My pit crew did awesome. And thank my fans for sticking behind us. That means a lot. Office Depot for sure. Everybody helped me. Dwight Laxton and Howard Hall, Mike Mittler, and all the folks who helped me coming up to win here at Bristol. I think it's everybody's dream. I'm going to be in Columbia tomorrow for Sam Russell. My good buddy was injured. We're going to have a bicycle ride at State Farm Insurance. So come out. I don't know if this is going to sink in, man. This is the night race at Bristol's 500 laps, and we won it.
Not only did you do that, Carl, you locked yourself into the chase for the Nextel Cup in 2007.
Unbelievable. I am living a dream thanks to Jack Roush Fenway, Office Depot. Anybody out there who's got a dream, just follow it. This is, I don't even know what to think, man. It's emotional to win this race. It's just, I think, like I said, I watch this a lot. I think every short track racer out there is dreaming about this. My little brother's racing tonight, and I know he's watching. And this mom, dad, Kenny, I love you guys. And to win this race is cool. We're back, you know.
What more can you say? Carl Edwards wins at Bristol. Alan?
with second place finisher Casey Kane. You led 305 laps tonight, but once Carl got by you, could you just not get back to him?
No, we couldn't. Those guys did a good job. They beat us at the end. We dominated, I think, the first half. The car was really good, and we just got a little bit, car felt good still at the end. He was just cutting through the center, a touch better than me, and we run second. So it was good. It was a great weekend for everybody at Gillette-Evernham. These teams did a great job. Everybody stepped up, and it's the first time we run go with McDonald's on the car. So it's nice to get a Dodge Avenger up front with McDonald's on it.
Casey heads to Skagit, Washington to race in the charity race with Tony Stewart Wednesday.
Well, the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series event at Bristol Motor Speedway is history, and the magic of Carl Edwards, he wins it here. Back to wrap it up in just a moment. Back in Bristol, Tennessee, take a look at the point standings. The top 5 drivers will be locked into the race to the chase. Dale Earnhardt Jr. there in 13th spot. Gained some points, only 158 back by finishing in 5th position now. Let's hear from Dale Earnhardt Jr. with Mike Massaro.
And just what Dale Earnhardt Jr. needed in this race for the chase, a top 5 finish. And, well, this boosts you up a little bit in points, but still it looks like you got a long way to go.
Yeah, I ain't worried about that. I had a good night tonight. I just run 500 miles of Bristol, so pretty stoked about finishing 5th. And Sunday off, baby, finally. All you guys, every time ESPN does a race, it rains our Saturday night, and we have to race Sunday. This is about the worst week ever, having to race on Tuesday. My guys come out here Friday and all day Saturday at 95 degrees out here working all day long. I'm proud of them. They gave me a great car. Proud of Budweiser. My whole team did good. I'm real proud of them. I enjoyed myself tonight. We got by the 2 there at the end. I wanted the top 5, and that was nice to get.
A lot of people paying attention to this race because of the reconfiguration. How did it affect the racing out there from your perspective?
Well, I thought, we ran the top some. The Busch race, the top was great, from what I could see. We ran it some tonight, but at the end, the bottom was where you needed to be, and I don't know why that is. Goodyear brought a hard tire, because they wanted to make sure it was a good, safe tire, and it was, and we managed with it. Maybe they dialed the tire down a little bit, get a little softer. The top may come in. I don't know if that's the answer or not. I'm just speculating, but it's got a groove up there. We just couldn't find it tonight.
Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr. brings it home 5th, guys.
Good one for Earnhardt Jr. Coming up next, Sports Center with John Anderson and John Puchagras. Congratulations once again to our race winner, Carl Edwards, winning his 2nd time in 2007. Join me and our entire ESPN race team next week. We head to California Busch Series competition, 9:45 Eastern time Saturday night. Live flag-to-flag cup coverage at 7 Eastern on Sunday. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.